One of those got really close to my head there. Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Ammunation. I am your host, Craig Bragg, and with me, as always, is the irreverent Irving Twin. How are you tonight, sir?
Living the dream. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Happy Saturday, November 16th, whatever that means. Folks, if you're watching, please make yourselves known by leaving us a comment in the chat there, and we will do the minimum. We will read it out loud here on the live stream.
He
So
literally reads every comment, like every one of them.
How we do? Because you know what, like this isn't a very big stream, so we may as well. Anyway, welcome to the Ammunation. Big week, primarily south of the border, but we have some news to get into about Canada too. So if you're a Canadian, you want to talk politics, culture, all that kind of stuff, we got lots to talk about. So we'll get into that. Tonight's title for Ammunation 64 is the MAGAvengers assembled, and that's because Donald Trump has been making it rain insofar as cabinet positions or cabinet nominations. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, as we always like to start with, do you even lift, bro? How's your fitness journey going this week, Mr. Twin? Been back?
Oh yeah. Yesterday and today were fantastic.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
I have not been as much this week. I did go, I think, twice this week, once or twice anyway. I'm still suffering from this allergy related shortness of breath, so it's becoming very, very difficult to do anything. Just sitting here talking, I have to take multiple breaths just to get a sentence out because I've got something going on with my lungs. It's allergy related, but basically I've got bronchial issues making it very difficult to breathe. So when I did go this week, I decided to try a routine that I saw on a YouTube channel called Muscle Monsters. Do you ever see that one?
I've not.
So basically, they're kind of like the other ones where they talk about the studies that were done about different techniques and different exercises and which ones are best for whatever. And they said there's you can do 3 exercises to get a full body workout, and they're compound exercises. And if you're running short of time, or you just want to mix things up, or you feel like doing full body, these 3 exercises are a good way to go, especially for older people, because they're nicer on your joints, so to speak. And so I tried it. I did a T-bar row, which is actually chest supported at my gym because they don't have just a regular T-bar.
Sure.
So I did a chest supported T-bar row of I think 90 pounds plus whatever the weight of the actual thing is. I don't know how much. And did 4 sets of 10. And then I did incline bench press on the Smith machine. And I did 4 sets of 10, but I failed at 8 on that one, on the 4th rep. Failed at 8 reps on the 4th set, I should say. And then I did trap bar deadlifts. You know what trap bar deadlifts are?
I do, yes.
Yeah, I like the trap bar deadlifts because deadlifts always concern me because I know I've got a very I'm not crazy balanced, and I tend to engage muscles that I shouldn't necessarily engage when I'm doing compound lifts like that and things like squats. So the trap bar deadlift's great because I don't generally worry that I'm going to engage my back in a way that I shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I did 3 sets of that. I did the bar, which isn't 45 pounds in my gym. I think it's closer to probably about 60 or 70 pounds.
A trap bar is heavier than a regular bar. Yeah.
So I did 2 50-pound weights on that plus the bar. So whatever that works out to be. And that killed me. Like 3 sets of that killed me. But I managed to do 10 of 3 sets.
I don't sweat any other time the way I sweat doing deads.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
because it's such a simple movement, but god damn it, you're engaging everything. So, but yeah, but with my shortness of breath, by the time I was done the 3rd set, I was like, I couldn't, after getting the weights off and then putting the bar back in the little holder thing, I was like fucking struggling. I was like, holy shit, that did it. Now, mind you, I did that one last. Maybe next time I'll start with it and then do the other ones afterwards. But anyway, But yeah, no, that whole exercise probably took me close to like the three exercises, 4 sets of each, except for the deadlift. Probably took me close to an hour with my break time in between and setup and removal and stuff like that, clean up and stuff. So yeah, it was a good workout. But yeah.
Decent.
And you what did you hit? You said you went today and yesterday, or
Yeah, yesterday chest and tricep. Today was back and bicep.
nice.
I had a lot of time that I didn't have anywhere else to be, so I was like, oh, all right, let's throw in an extra major exercise. Let's throw in an extra auxiliary. This will be, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And just got a whole bunch of sets. So I just, yeah, it felt real good.
How long do you spend at the gym when you go for a session?
So it depends, right? Like my planned workouts, if I can get every piece of equipment I need the moment I need it,
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. That's about right.
Usually closer to an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yesterday and today, it was over an hour, and I was pretty much getting my equipment when I wanted it. Because like I'll typically do 3 major exercises for 5 sets, right? So if it's back day, it'll be like rows, pull downs, and then the straight arm pull down for 5 sets apiece, right? But I threw in 2 extra majors today.
Yeah.
So that I use the T-bar row that I don't normally use. And oh yeah, just a different grip for the seated row. Right.
Cool.
So yeah, like I went back to seated row, and actually, God, it's you know the little V-bar handle?
Yeah. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, I can do quite a bit of weight with that. I
Mhm.
went for a wider grip to try and simulate a standing row. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And oh yeah, I found it way harder and engaging everything in my back a lot better. Like I felt way more connected to my muscles there. And then bicep, yeah, I don't know. I must have done 15 to 20 sets of bicep stuff.
Do you do like barbell curls or dumbbell curls or what?
So it's however I feel that day. And today I felt like cables.
Table?
Yeah,
Like
so I just put the
preacher
cable
curl
to,
kind of thing? Oh,
yeah.
cables. I thought you said table.
No, cables. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the cable curling with the bent bar and
Yeah.
then single arm with just a handle. Oh,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like, because they talk about like where the weight is versus gravity
Yeah.
if you're using a free weight. So you only really feel the max tension at a certain point through the movement. But with a
Yeah.
cable,
You're
the
feeling it
cable's
the
just always
whole way.
pulling you open. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it's a different
Yeah.
different workout.
I like do when I'm doing dumbbell curls, it's hammer curls because otherwise my golfer's elbow is brutal.
See,
Cable
you've told me
curls tend to hit my golfer's elbow too, but not as badly.
so. I'm wondering, are you using the bent bar that lets you turn your hands a little bit inward?
When I'm doing barbell curls, yes. And I do close. So that one doesn't hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing dumbbells, it's hammer curl because I'm doing dumbbells this way. My golfer's elbow is just killing me. So I
Yeah,
do
but I
hammer.
mean, if you could just put your hands in the same position as if you were using the
Yeah,
bent bar, you should be able to mitigate that with a
yeah, but
dumbbell.
I'll be honest. I don't know what the benefit is of doing that over doing hammer curls. They're still working your muscles. It's just your hands are in a slightly different position. That's all.
Okay, so show me your bicep.
Well, I'm wearing a long
That's
sleeve
okay.
shirt.
Sure. Now turn your knuckles away from you. Away. Twist. Yeah. Look what happens to your arm when you do that.
Yeah.
Turn your knuckles away.
I'm not
No, no, no,
turning.
no, no. Like this.
Uh-huh.
Right? And now turn your knuckles away.
Well, as you're saying, yeah, it extends it. Yeah, yeah,
Right. So the farther you turn your wrist that way, the
yeah.
less you engage that bicep. When
Right.
your wrist is neutral instead of
Yeah, you're not gauging the whole bicep. Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah,
you
you're gauging
turn it,
some of the tricep and some of the forearm as well.
yeah, right, but the forearm does a lot of the work when you're hammer curling as opposed to if you can supinate your wrist.
Well, that's why when I do supinated barbell curls, yeah, you definitely feel it completely different. Yeah, but feel it more in your triceps and your forearms. But anyway, I was just curious. I wanted to find out what you're doing. We lost a viewer. Damn it. We had viewers and then we lost one because we were talking about exercising. People come here for the bants about the politics. So maybe we should move off of this.
Well, hey, look, this is political. We were ahead of the curve here because we were like, you know what? Just because we're getting older doesn't mean we can't start eating right and staying in shape. And now RFK is on our tip and helped
That's
get Donald Trump elected. So you're
true.
welcome,
True.
guys.
Yeah, and you see all the memes going out here, people saying, RFK, he shouldn't be health, human services. And then you look at who they've got for health and human services currently, and
Yeah.
isn't it what's it at?
Levine? No.
Levine, yeah.
Is it?
I think it is.
I don't know. It's some weird, sickly looking, obese trans person that
Yeah,
is not the
Levine.
picture of health. And then, you see how old is RFK? Is he in his 70s?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And he's
Jacked
fucking
to the
jacked.
gills. Yeah, for like
And I'm like, is the guy on gear?
he's on TRT for sure.
Well, he's older, right? So that kind of makes sense, yeah.
But
We may as well just get into it. The MAGAvengers assembled. So if you haven't been paying attention, I'm sure you have. Donald Trump has been putting out the releases about who he's picking for his cabinet, who he's nominating. Of course, Tulsi Gabbard is Director of National Intelligence. Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are going to head up Doge. Apparently, rumor has it that Kash Patel might be head of the FBI. Everybody wants him to be head of the FBI. They think he'd be a great head of the FBI. I don't know what his background is. So I don't know. Does it make sense for him to be head of the FBI? But
I have no idea.
Who else was there?
Hegseth
as Department of Defense. What is it? Minister? Not minister. Secretary of Defense, right?
Maybe I'm not sure the position, but basically he's in charge of the Pentagon.
Yeah, he's Secretary of Defense, and people were talking about he's not qualified. How is he not qualified? He's got 20 years of active service. He's never managed anything. So what? That probably makes him a better manager.
I was going to say, have you seen how they manage it? I mean,
exactly.
Apparently, you could throw anybody in there, and if as long as they lose less than $7 billion a year,
and all these people, on the left wing media on MSNBC are coming out saying, "Oh, he's a known white supremacist." I'm like, what? And then did you see this thing? This woman, some rando on X, saw his Jerusalem cross tattoo on his chest and said, "Oh my God, it's a swastika." I'm like, "It's the Jerusalem cross, you fucking twat." But people are like, of course, giving her grief on the internets. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. Tulsi Gabbard, they're saying, oh, well, first off, John Bolton, one of Trump's worst picks, and every time somebody mentions his name, he goes, God, what a stupid guy. God, he's a stupid guy. He really does not like John Bolton. Said that they should both be investigated by the FBI because, one, she's been called who's it? Barry Weiss called Tulsi Gabbard an Assad toady, Bashir al-Assad, a toady of Bashir al-Assad, and of course everybody says she's in Putin's back pocket because Hillary Clinton said she's a Russian asset, all this sort of stuff because she's got Russia on the brain constantly. It's ridiculous what's coming out against these people now. I know that the Tulsi Gabbard accusations are all bullshit. In terms of her meeting with Assad, she was in Syria talking to the people on the ground and had an opportunity to talk to Assad and spoke with him twice while she was there. She was there for over the course of 3 or 4 days or something like that, and talked to him twice. And her reasoning was, look, you talk to people, you talk to world leaders, even the ones you don't get along with, because otherwise you can't establish peace. And I guess this goes back to a Bush era sort of doctrine. That when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were vying for the Democratic nomination, Hillary Clinton, leveled this charge at Barack Obama because he said he would meet with the leader of Iran without precondition. Right? He would meet with the leaders or leader of Cuba. Basically, he would meet with dictators without precondition. And she was saying, "Oh, that's a terrible idea. You gotta put in conditions. You gotta say they've got to do something before you'll meet with them." And he's like, "No, you don't give up an opportunity to speak." And he says that's a Bush era doctrine, where basically you withhold any form of discussion or negotiation with people who you consider your enemies until they prove to you that they're worthy of your time. You'll never get anything accomplished that way if you approach everybody like they're your enemy. And
Actually,
Hillary
Jordan
does not like Tulsi. No, she does not like Tulsi.
Jordan Peterson has basically put it best. What do you call people that you can't talk to?
I don't
Enemy.
know. Enemy. Yeah. Well, that's just it. Yeah. So, but I mean, if you view everybody as your enemy, how are you ever going to establish? And that's the thing, right? These are war hawks. George W. Bush, who prided himself as this great war man who could fly a fucking fighter jet, uh, mission accomplished on the deck of an aircraft carrier and all that. He never went to war anywhere, right? Tulsi Gabbard went to war, right? Um, so it's like I'll take somebody who's actually been in combat to decide how to avoid, situations where it's going to result in combat. And so if she's willing to meet with Bashir al-Assad, and quite frankly, all of the bad stuff you hear about Bashir al-Assad all comes from the United States. It's a guy who, they had an interest in trying to, what do you call it, marginalize in the world community and try to make his people rise up against him. But from what I understand, he's quite popular. He's kind of like Putin in that sense, right? There are people who don't like Putin in his own country, but he's largely popular in his country. They see him as a strong leader, even if they don't agree with everything he does, even if they don't like certain actions he takes, and even if they might be even afraid of him, he's still appreciated as being a powerful and strong leader, and they're appreciative of that fact. Largely, I'm not going to say every Russian loves Putin, but yeah, no, good on Tulsi. I think she's great. I think Hegseth's great. The guy looks like fucking Captain America. For Christ's sake.
A tattooey as fuck Captain America.
What's that?
A tattooey as all hell Captain America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like John Walker. He's like the replacement Captain America, U.S. agent, right?
This enormous "we the
The
people."
people, yeah, and then the Jerusalem cross, and then he has Deus Vult on his forearm.
Yeah,
like fucking yes. Yeah, I love it. But again, this is the thing that's leveled at him. Deus Vult is considered white supremacy, and well, not really. It's more Christian supremacist, if you wanted to put it that way.
It literally means God wills it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's different? How is it different than saying Allahu Akbar, right? Except Allahu Akbar normally precedes a terrorist attack.
Actually, the Arabic equivalent would be Inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah, yeah. As Allah wills it. Yeah. Inshallah. Anyway. Yeah, God is great as Allahu Akbar. Yeah, so I'm happy with the picks. The only one that gives me pause, and very brief pause, because I looked into it a little bit, is Matt Gaetz. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Matt Gaetz. I like Matt Gaetz and how he conducts himself in Congress. I think he's a firebrand. I think he pulls no punches, and he's clearly a Trump loyalist, which is great because he needs people who are loyal to him if he's going to enact his agenda. But there are allegations against him, and you're aware of the allegations against Matt Gaetz, are you not?
No.
Okay, well, here are the allegations, and they're bringing it up. So Matt Gaetz allegedly was involved in he had sex with a minor back in 2019. Apparently, she was 17 years old. Apparently, and he trafficked her in the sense that he took her across state lines. This is the word that apparently resulted in a Department of Justice investigation a few years back. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. The investigation went nowhere. The Department of Justice just declined to prosecute because they said the witnesses who were testifying against Gaetz were unreliable. One of the guys, the person actually who sort of spurned this sort of investigation, was a guy by the name of Joel Glenberg. The fuck is his name? Greenberg. Joel Greenberg. Yeah, Joel. Yeah, he's
What?
a member of the tribe. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah. Now here's the thing: this guy was a tax collector who was in Seminole County, Florida, which I believe is the same district that Gates is in. Gates and him are seen with Roger Stone in a photo. That's the only indication I've seen that these guys knew each other, but apparently they hung out together all the time. Now this Greenberg guy, is it Greenberg or Goldberg? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. He's a Jewish guy. He has been charged and is facing 7 or 11 years, one of those two, for possession of child pornography and child sex trafficking.
I was gonna bring it up. Like the group of people who are known for frequenting Jeffrey Epstein's Child Fuck Island are accusing some other guy of having relations with a 17-year-old. Their real problem is she's too old.
You said it, not me. Welcome to the Ammunation, folks, where we talk about inappropriate things and say inappropriate things like everybody else. But no, my point is, he's not credible, and the FBI, even the Department of Justice, even said, "Yeah, this fucker's not credible." My thought is, this guy got charged, and he's involved in all sorts of nefarious shit, money laundering, fraud, fraudulent activity with regards to payouts and that sort of thing. He was a tax collector of all things, and he took tax monies and used them to pay off credit card debt and that sort of stuff. Anyway, so this Goldberg, Greenberg, whatever the fucker the guy's name is, my thought is that basically, as Gates was coming down on the deep state, the establishment in Washington D.C., they said, we got to get this fucker. And so they went after him, and they said, we got to find somebody who can testify against him. And because there was a photo of Gates with this Goldberg, Greenberg, whatever the fucker guy's name is, and Roger Stone, and Gates posted on X that they were at some sort of event, the three of them, and he said that this Goldberg guy was a 2A proponent, like he's a strong defender of the Second Amendment. That's probably why they got along for an evening at some fucking event somewhere. Anyway, the FBI said, you need to testify against him. You need to, come out with, make a statement, kind of thing. And that's why they're going after Gates. Now, the only issue there is the House Ethics Committee was launching their own investigation into the allegations, even though the DOJ already dropped them. The House Ethics Committee has their own, I guess, jurisprudence they do with regards to their members. So when a member of the House is accused of something, the House has their own little investigation to find out if there's any merit to the accusations. Well, he resigned just before the results of that inquiry were to come out, that investigation were to come out, and people are saying, well, he's resigning so that they won't come out. Now, Mike Johnson, I believe that's his name, is the speaker of the House. Yeah, he's the majority leader in the House, I should say. And I have a coffee mug with the Dia de los Muertos skull coffee mug. It's awesome. Cool.
Cheers.
Oh, you got one too. Well, he's come out and said, well, look, he's no longer a member, so it's not prudent that we bring out the results of this investigation because he's no longer a member. My concern there is that the investigation notes, the results of the investigation, they're going to get leaked. So him resigning does look suspect, but I'm inclined to think that it's a snow job, like a la Julian Assange, right? They're making some shit up. Either there was some 17-year-old who was at a party that Gates was at, and she was a honeypot set up against him, or it's just some person, because this person who was 17 at the time, they're still anonymous. They only have initials out there in the world, right? And I'm like, okay, so it's an anonymous accusation. The guy who put forward the accusation that launched the DOJ investigation is a pedophile himself, possessed over 80 images of CP, trafficked and engaged in prostitution with a minor, and is in jail for 7 years. And all this comes on the heels of Matt Gaetz causing a ruckus in selecting the House Majority Leader and basically calling out people in the Department of Justice, calling out Mayorkas, calling out Merrick Garland in all of these House proceedings. So I'm inclined to not believe it, but I can't say for sure. He is a young guy. From what I understand, he does like partying, or did up until recently, I guess. He's married, I guess. I don't know. But anyway.
I will suggest, though, the anonymity of the 17-year-old is probably because she's a minor.
But she was. She's not anymore. She's an adult now.
But because the events occurred while she was a minor,
sure,
that's still the way, like, that the identity's protected, right?
Sure, I get that. But the point is that as a, first off, it's not going before the court because the DOJ's declined to prosecute.
Yeah.
Okay. But her anonymity would not hold in court because you have a right to confront your accuser.
Sure, but for public consumption, right? That's like we'll never get more than that. Yeah, but that's part of the process is the punishment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hear them, you create a problem forever, right? The allegation is forever, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly. It will always be a stain on his character. Now, here's the problem: people on X and social media, they don't know the difference between an allegation and and a factual occurrence, because there's people out there calling him a child rapist, and I'm like, you fuckers are going to get sued. And these aren't just random accounts. These are people with social media presences. They have YouTube channels, they have podcasts, that kind of stuff. I'm like, you fucking dummies. Do you really, like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, if you call someone a child rapist, you're going to get sued. Especially if, they haven't been convicted of anything. This is why the whole adjudicated a rapist claim that they keep leveling at Donald Trump, because of that bullshit civil case in New York by E. Jean Carroll, went to a guilty verdict. You heard about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they can say without, defamation that he has been adjudicated a rapist. I'm like, you can't really. What you can say is he has been found liable for defaming an accuser, because that's what she was basically awarded the settlement on. Awarded the what do you call it? The monies from the case. And that case is absolutely boggles my fucking mind. She accuses him years ago. He says, no, it never fucking happened. I don't even know this woman. She's crazy. She says that's defamation 20 fucking years later. And they say, oh, you have a lawsuit then because he defamed you by saying you're a liar. What? But he doesn't have a case against her? Like a defamation suit by calling it? Like, it's going to get thrown out. Ultimately it's going to get reversed. But in any event, for the people who already are inclined to hate Trump, it's just another quiver in their another arrow in their quiver. And it's what really, really bothers me when MSNBC and places like that use that kind of language, adjudicated a rapist. Or in the case of Gates, calling him out and out a child rapist on social media. Now we're probably going to get delisted or fucking moved down in the algorithm because I'm using the actual R word. But I don't care.
I mean, well, since that's already happened, like, just remember, folks, if you're going to randomly accuse people of something, you have to be careful the way you phrase it to avoid, litigation, right? Like, right. I would not be surprised to discover that you raped a child.
Right. It does not surprise me, because based on what I know of your character, you seem like the type of person who would rape a child.
You look like the way I imagine people who fuck children look.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. Anyway. And I've recorded a video on my way to the park this morning regarding this, but I didn't have enough information to comment authoritatively on the incident or on the allegations. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to upload it because a lot of it is I don't know. So what's the point of me talking if I don't know? So this afternoon I looked into it to find out what the whole thing was. And what it comes down to is some Jewish guy accused him who worked in the same county office as Gates, I guess, or same county as Gates, and the FBI ran with it, and the DOJ dropped it.
And then he got caught with child porn.
And the guy who accused him got caught with child porn. Yeah. Oh, and you know what his excuse was when they asked him about it? Because his name's all in the news. You can find tons of articles about him. He says, yeah, no, I acquired it to blackmail somebody, and then I decided I wasn't going to blackmail them, and I just kept it for myself. Well, that's a really good fucking excuse.
That's
So I'm not into this stuff. I just acquired it for the purposes of blackmail, and I never ended up using it to blackmail somebody. Then why didn't you like purge it as much as you fucking could? You know what I mean? Anyway, when you engage in that kind of deviltry or devilry, whatever the word is, you know, you deserve what you fucking get. Anyway. That being said, I'm happy with the MAGAvengers assembled thus far. Who else do we got to get? There's got to be a couple of positions that are going to be. Oh, they tapped a young lady to be the press secretary in the following in the Kayleigh McEnany of getting the hottest, most badass chick to address the Washington D.C. press corps, the White House press corps. They got this girl. Oh fuck, what's her name now? I can't remember. I'm gonna look her up. 1 sec. Trump's press secretary. Caroline Levitt. I guess she's a former model. Yeah, she ran for Congress too, but I guess but she didn't win her election anyway. I'm going to share this. You can see who this broad is. This wonderful woman is. See that? Yeah, good, cool. Yeah, I changed my settings so I don't have to confirm anything that I share.
Nice.
There we go. All right, ready? Here we go.
I'm Caroline Levitt in New Hampshire's my home. I grew up here in a business family, then worked for President Trump, fighting against the fake news and political elite. Now, they're back. Biden, Pelosi, Chris Pappas are destroying our economy, brainwashing our children, and allowing illegals to invade. But together, we can fight back and win again. I'm Caroline Levitt, and I approve this message because I'm Caroline Levitt.
So yeah, she ran for a seat. I don't know if it was at the state level or at the federal level. She did not win, but yeah, that's Caroline Levitt. She's super cute, and yeah, she seems like she's gonna be a firebrand. She's a lot younger than Kayleigh McEnany was when she was press secretary. I think she's probably got about 10 years on her, but yeah, I'm happy to see that they're gonna put a hottie back behind the podium in the White House press briefing room, because yeah, it was great watching Kayleigh McEnany, this super cute chick with beautiful eyes, just fucking owning the lamestream media. I've heard people want Brandon Herrera to head up the ATF. He's floated that on social media several times now. He wants to head up the ATF and then completely dismantle it. That's his goal. He's like, make me head of the ATF and I'll find the waste where it is, and then leave it to be just a shell of its former self. Because quite frankly, why does the United States need a bureau of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms? What was the mindset behind forming the agency? That these are substances that need to be restricted or controlled? I don't understand why. Is because was bootlegging a real fucking problem? Is are Indian reservation cigarettes being smuggled off the reservation a real big fucking problem? And firearms, the United States has a Second Amendment right for firearms, so there's no real reason for that. I don't know. Control freaks. 6 minutes. Yeah, you're probably right. They're control freaks. Yeah. Who formed the ATF? We should find that out. Under what administration was the ATF formed? Maybe some of the Americans might know that. I'm going to look it up anyway.
And alcohol and tobacco together, I get. Why firearms grouped with these substances?
I have no idea.
Shouldn't it be like the
Okay.
ATC, alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine?
Yeah, there you go. What do you want? What's your over under on who? What if it was a Democratic or Republican administration that formed the ATF? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms was formed in 1886. Oh my gosh, really? As the Revenue Laboratory within the Treasury Department's Bureau of Internal Revenue. Oh, okay. The ATF has had a number of administrative changes over the years. Wow, that long ago, eh? Fuck. It became part of the Treasury Department. Yeah, you know what? Like, here's the thing. Like, is it because there was a lot of bootlegging going on? Is that the idea?
I don't know what I mean. Wasn't everything technically bootleg in those days? You know, you grew your own food, you
It was
distilled your own
renamed
whiskey.
the ATFD, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division of the IRS. So it was part of the IRS. I bet you it was probably to go after Capone and organized crime. That's probably why they formed it. And then it became a bureau of the Treasury Department in 1972. That's interesting. Wow. I thought it was more recent. I was thinking, fucking Carter probably formed it, or some scumbag Democrat in the more recent years. So it wasn't really its own department. It was part of other departments. It was part of the Treasury Department. It was part of the Justice Department. It was briefly part of the FBI. It was at one part under the Alcohol Tax Unit of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. And then it went back to the IRS, and now it's part of the Treasury Department. Of late, it is a part of the Treasury Department. Interesting.
So
it was formed before there was even Democrats and Republicans, I guess. Because 1886. Okay, no, that was definitely after the Civil War, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was after the Civil War, probably by. Yeah, but what administration was it?
I don't know things that far back.
Who was president at the time?
I couldn't tell you. All I know is Ruby Ridge and Waco.
Yeah, it really needs to be like, if they're not going to disband the FBI and rebuild it from scratch, then the ATF is one that should be. Who was president in 1886? No, I just want to know who was president. There's no page called that. I'm like, for fuck's sakes. Grover Cleveland. Good old Grover Cleveland. So he's the one who was in power in the White House when the ATF was formed. Wasn't he the only other president to have two non-consecutive
split terms? Yeah,
to have two non-consecutive presidential terms.
I think
that's
so.
Hilarious. That would be fitting. That would be fitting if the guy who instituted it had two split terms, and then the guy who ends it has two split terms. That would be good. I love that. Anyway. Moving right along. Do you have any other thoughts with regards to the MAGAvengers? To the picks? Do you have any thoughts on who should be picked? Who else should be picked to be part of his cabinet?
No. I'm just liking that there's a certain amount of everyone being upset.
Yes.
Which is great, right?
Yeah.
Because that's that just means you're in the right direction. If everyone's mad at you, you're doing something right.
Well, that's just, isn't that what they say? If you've never made any enemies, you haven't risked anything. Like, or the other that was a Winston Churchill quote that I fucking butchered. Basically, or when you're taking flack, you know you're over the target.
Yeah.
That's the other one, right? Yeah, the fact that Gates has got everybody up in a tizzy, and same with Gabbard. This is the ironic thing, or the justice, the karmic justice thing. Tulsi Gabbard was put on the a terrorist watch list and not a no-fly list, but a terrorist watch list by the director of national intelligence, and now she's going to be the director of national intelligence. Synchronicity. Yeah, there you go, man. That's exactly what it is. Synchronicity. It's a great song by the Police. Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. Not my favorite, but it is what it is. Maybe he'll surprise us. To me, he seems like a swamp creature. But
so did Ted Cruz, though.
Ted Cruz is a swamp creature. But he says the right things. I think he's smart. I think he knows the way the wind's blowing, and that's why he's become sort of a vocal proponent of Trump and his agenda.
I'm going to be a little more generous and say, I imagine some people actually get into politics with the idea of doing good. And then once they're in there, they find out how swampy it is and realize they can't get anything done without being swampy.
Yeah, they've got to get down in the mud. They have to get dirty in order to play. Yeah.
Now, they're not happy about it, but they're doing it because they are trying to do something good. So they feel they have to play the game. Trump shook everything up so much that I think some people, including hopefully Ted Cruz, were like, oh, wait a minute. You mean I don't have to muck about in the swamp? I can get out of the swamp and actually work with somebody who doesn't want to be in the swamp?
I agree. I think Cruz is probably one of those. I think Gates is one of those. Maybe Rubio is too. Guys like Biden, he's a swamp creature from the time he fucking started. He got into it for the purposes of self-enrichment because he's been doing it his entire fucking career. He was like one of the youngest people in DC when he first started. He was like 28. He was really young when he first started, and he's been a sleazy swamp creature from the beginning. He knew how to fucking get dirty, and he was happy to get dirty. And I still think that Obama wasn't, because Obama was sort of like an unknown element when he first appeared as a junior senator. They didn't quite know if they could trust him, right? And he was probably seemed very idealistic when he first started. I have a feeling the reason they said Biden's going to be your running mate was because they thought we might have to kill this guy if he tries to be a candidate. In which case, we can put a guy in that we know will play ball the way we want him to play ball, which would have been Biden, right? Anyway, I think they made Biden become his running mate because they thought he could be a Ford. He could be a guy who could come in once we off Obama, and they didn't have to because Obama, he lay right down and play ball with them as well. So,
well, I'll tell you what gained Ted Cruz several points in my mind. There was that rumor going around that Ted Cruz was the Zodiac killer.
Agreed. Yeah. Yes.
And Ted Cruz heard about it and was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!"
He thought, this is hilarious. I'm going to meme the shit out of this, and he did.
Yeah, like all the things you could say about a politician in office, right? They're a war hawk. They're corrupt. They're siphoning money. It's like, I'm the Zodiac killer. This is brilliant. And it was like, oh wow, okay, yeah, that's you know what? He might be a cool guy under there somewhere.
Yeah, and you know what? You're probably right. You're probably like guys like Gates. Like Gates strikes me as the kind of guy who got into it. He got into it relatively young. He's only been in Congress a short time, I think. And I get the feeling that he probably knew going in what kind of swamp it was. But when he saw Trump appear and say, "I'm going to actually drain the swamp. I'm going to actually, tear this thing out by the roots and start from scratch," he's like, "Fuck, thank God." And that's why he got on board. I think Cruz was a swamp creature and then realized I can get out of the swamp, like you said. And maybe Rubio's that too. So, good on him. Now, whereas the swamp of Ottawa has amongst it a particular individual, a former eco-terrorist known by the name of Stephen Guilbeault. He faced prison time did he try and scale the CN Tower? I think it was the CN Tower or something. In support of Greenpeace or some shit. Was arrested, went to jail, and then of course becomes a member of Trudeau's Liberal cabinet as the Minister of the Environment, and he's
Was
a
he at
completely.
Trudeau's wedding party though?
Was he part of Trudeau's wedding party? Maybe he was. I have no idea. Could have been. Anyway, he's now been brought aboard. There's been a lot of talk about him being a bit of a recipient of graft or a participant in graft. He's the Liberal government set up, I guess, this sort of fund for people who wanted to start green businesses. And Guilbeault managed to siphon $147 million of that fund to his own business.
Oh, it wasn't 254 million. I heard
200. I thought it was 147.
247.
Maybe. I mean, that being said, he took my fucking money and gave it to himself, and your money too, and every other Canadian's money. Canada is swampy as fuck. Yes.
Swamp run deep.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of here's the thing. The amount of scandals that has befallen Canada, or that the current Trudeau government has become embroiled in, would in previous years taken down the government like that. But they don't care. Their supporters don't care, and they're all just basically circling the wagons, saying, "No, fuck it. We're going to defend our guy no matter what." And I have a feeling that it's his entire cabinet. I think everybody's involved in some form of malfeasance or graft or money laundering or some other evil, nefarious shit with our tax dollars. And that's why they're all rallying around him, because and that's probably why he refuses to step down. One, because he's a narcissist, everybody knows that, but also because nobody's going to hold him to account, because he probably has the receipts on all the evil shit that everybody's done. Here's my guess, my sinister allegation, if you will. Justin Trudeau took all of these Liberal members that he thought he could get behind him and get to support him, and he said, "Look, here's how behind closed doors, of course. Here's how it's going to operate. I'm going to give you every opportunity to enrich yourself. You're going to do that, and as long as we stay united front, the press will be on our side. No one will ever come after us, and everything's going to be great." Now, after everybody gets involved in their own individual, scandalous malfeasance, right? And then when it all starts to come out, and everybody's saying, "Trudeau, step down. Trudeau, step down," he comes up and says, "If I go down, you're all going down too. Every single one of you. And I guarantee you, I'm connected. I'm not going to jail, but every one of you fuckers will." And that's why they're standing behind him. They're like, "Fuck, we can't. We'll all go to jail. He won't. He'll get a slap on the wrist. He's a Trudeau. He's fucking royalty in Canada. Nothing's happening to him, but we'll all go to fucking jail." And that's probably why he's remaining in power as long as he has.
Well, I mean, they destroyed all the evidence at Picton Farm, so that would have been the big one.
Wine ants can elect a douchebag and destroy a country. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, but it is more than that. It's there's a lot of weird, stupid stuff about this country, like the way the seats are weighted, and
it's absolutely
it's terrible.
Yeah, we've got the worst form of democracy, I think, out there. There's a guy. There's a YouTuber called the Aristocratic Utensil, and his avatar is this like spoon in a top hat with a fucking monocle, and he talks about movies and all sorts of shit and politics and stuff, and he's a strong advocate for monarchy. He says democracy is bullshit. We need a monarchy with a strong leader. And he hasn't gone into great detail from any of the videos I've seen, but I'm sure he has probably has like an hour-long treatise on why monarchy is better than democracy.
Anarcho-monarchy, maybe.
What's that?
Anarcho-monarchy.
Anarcho-monarchy? Yeah, I'm all behind anarcho-monarchy. That sounds like fun. Anyway, so yeah, this form of democracy we have here in Canada is garbage. It is what would happen in the United States if they got rid of the Electoral College and only two cities basically decided how the whole country went. Like LA and New York decided what happened in the entire country. That's what would happen in the United States if the Electoral College was basically made null and void. In Canada, we have that. It's Montreal and Toronto decide the fate of the entire fucking country. because that's where most of the people live, and everybody else, and in the western provinces and the eastern provinces, their say means literally nothing.
But actually, it's worse because it's not even like the population centers. In the last election, the Liberals lost the popular vote.
Yeah.
5 million to 4 million.
Yeah.
Right. And the Conservatives still couldn't.
Right, because they can form a coalition. They can form a coalition with other fucking socialists like they did with Jagmeet Singh. And here's the thing, Jagmeet Singh had come out time and time again saying he will remove his support for Justin Trudeau if X doesn't happen. And then X doesn't happen, and he says, yeah, I'm going to still continue to support him. Or Y does happen, he says, if Y happens, I'm not going to support him anymore. And Y happens, and Jagmeet says, yeah, well, we're not going to pull our support because he wants his fucking pension.
Well, I mean, it just amazes me how people don't see that the vast majority of politicians in Canada at that level are in it entirely for themselves and not for the people, right? That, as soon as Jagmeet actually did threaten to pull support, the Bloc Québécois said, well, we'll join you as long as we get what we want.
Well, that's it.
We don't, they're what, 27, 30 something seats out of 338? Yeah. And they're like, well, as long as we get something for Quebec, right, then fuck the rest of Canada.
and frankly, Quebec already has a sweetheart deal. Fuck, their sweetheart deal is better than the natives' sweetheart deal. Seriously, they get fucking pandered to so heavily in Ottawa because everybody's Quebec, they're part of the makeup of Canada. They're an integral part of our society and our culture, and we can't deny them anything. I've all long been of the mind, you fuckers want to leave, fucking leave. Get the fuck out. All the power to you. Join Vermont. Become part of Vermont. Become the 51st state in the United States. We'll cut off the East Coast. We don't fucking care. We can fly there. I mean, it doesn't hurt Hawaii at all for the United States. Fuck.
United States wouldn't take them. They'd have to go independent, and that won't work for them because they can't support themselves.
I think the United States probably would take them.
No.
For the maple syrup alone. Anyway, Guilbeault is a scumbag, piece of shit. And this is the thing. In Canada, I think the default mindset of people who get into politics in Canada is self-enrichment. Like in the United States, you could argue, some people get into politics because they feel they can make a positive difference for their community, for their state, for their country, what have you, right? But I think in Canada, the vast majority of people who get into politics, even down to the local level, they're like, I've got a pretty good real estate business, but I could make myself a lot richer if I just got in touch with that guy who I met at the business association. Maybe I'll get into politics. And that's why they do it. They get into politics to enrich themselves, to expand their existing businesses, their existing enterprises or operations, and they become richer. And then they move up. If they do well at the local level, they go to the provincial level. If they do well at the provincial level, they go to the federal level. And then eventually they try and, get a Senate seat. They kiss the right asses and they suck the right dicks. And then somebody gives them a Senate appointment for life. And they're like, fuck, I've made it. I'll get a pension for life. I get, I don't even have to show up if I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like the senators have a sweetheart deal in Canada. It's fucking brutal.
They're appointed and for life.
They're appointed for life. They don't even have to attend Senate. There's no minimum requirement for them to attend sessions of the Senate. They could say, fuck it, I'll go to one a year. And the Senate doesn't have to
and it's big pay too.
The Senate doesn't really have the power. Sorry?
And it's big pay. It's like 150
grand.
It's
huge. It's fucking ridiculous. That's why it's all people who have already had time in politics or know people who have had time in politics.
Fucking Charles Adler.
Let's see. I'm allegedly related to the British royal family. I could be your king. You make a better king than our current king. He's a fucking nonce. King 6, the first of Canada. Yeah, come on up here. You can move here. Ontario is bigger than Texas, so
plenty of room.
Plenty of room for you. No. What was I ranting about? The Senate. Yeah. Now I may be telling tales out of school, but from what I understand from my politics teacher, Mr. Hees, back in the day, The Senate doesn't actually have any legislative power. They cannot stop a bill from being passed. If the ruling party has a bill, they put it forward, and say it passes in the House, and then it goes to the Senate for review. If the Senate says no, you can't pass this bill the way it needs to be changed, ultimately the House can say fuck you, it's getting passed, and they can pass it. So what is the point of the Senate if it has no actual legislative power? It can recommend, it can advise, it can put in little liner notes about this should be amended, this should be added, this should be removed. But if the Prime Minister and the Liberal Party decided, yeah, you know what, thank you for your recommendations, fuck that, we're doing it the way we want it, it goes through anyway. It receives royal assent if they can get the votes, obviously. The Senate has little power in Canada, which is why people have often talked about abolishing it. Like it comes up every couple of decades. Why don't we just abolish the Senate? It's an appointed body. They have no real legislative power. And why are we spending all this money on these people that don't really make a fucking difference? And I'm part of. Sometimes I'm inclined to fucking agree.
I mean, let's go a step further. Let's reform the whole government.
Agreed. Anarcho-monarchy for the win. No, representative republic.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with that. With each province having the same rights as say each state does in the United States. So there'd be federal jurisdiction and there'd be provincial jurisdiction. Never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, and why not something akin to an electoral college?
Why not?
Population based.
Yeah. So Ontario would still have the most seats, the most counties, the most ridings, whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
Followed by Quebec. But
the tiny populations of Newfoundland and the Maritimes wouldn't outweigh all the Western provinces.
Right. Or Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
Right. Northwest Territories, Nunavut, Yukon Territories, they would have like 1 or 2 seats. But they still have a voice, right? And they still have their own, what do you call it? Power within those regions. Their local governments still get to decide how resources are managed. And that's the thing that I really like about Danielle Smith. She is, thumbing her nose at the federal government and saying, the resources in Alberta are Alberta's to manage. Fuck you. The Supreme Court of Canada has already decided in our favor. So suck our ass. Shouldn't say it like that. She's much more eloquent than I am, but
yeah, but suck ass will do, right?
It's true. Let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted. I've been ranting far too much, and my blood pressure is going through the roof. Deathbringer is fun using Whataboo. Have you ever used Whataboo?
I have no idea what that is.
I'm going to share it, and I'll show you what it is. One sec here. So I've been doing a lot. As you know, I have a job that doesn't require me to actually do anything most of the time. So I've been doing a lot. I'm doing a lot just farting around with my D&D campaign, and I'm running a Deathbringer edition of Dungeons and Dragons. As your king, I would decree that April 28th will be called Second Halloween. Why April 28th, though? Curious. King 6th, the first of Canada.
Is that like the halfway point?
Maybe. Could be. All right, can you see that?
Maybe 2 days. Hey, nice.
Okay, so this is a website called Whataboo, spelled WATABOU.github.io, and it's basically a collection or an aggregate of a bunch of online tools for helping your D&D campaign or your fantasy setting. And I'm just going to go through some of the little things that I've been doing. Now, there's a concept called the 5-room dungeon. Have you heard of this concept?
No.
So the 5-room dungeon is basically, it's a format for when you have a session, an adventure, you can run a format called the 5-room dungeon. And it doesn't have to be a dungeon, but it makes most sense in a dungeon setting. basically the first room's your entry. The second room, can you see that?
Yeah.
So basically, this is a one-page dungeon generator. And as you can see, it's got 4 named rooms, and it basically, it randomly sets up, let's go here. It randomly sets up a dungeon for you. And it just puts it together, and it gives you a bunch of little keyed entries and populates it with, you know, things you'll find in that room. But you can adjust it, so you can edit the notes. So if I want to edit this note and call this flooded chamber, I can do that. So so the cool thing is that you can just keep generating new dungeons, and it comes up with new names for them, and it comes up with new, you know, entries for them. It's really cool, and you can change the format too. So for instance, the view. Let's see here. So you can do default. So each note is is like a little blurb beside it, kind of thing. And you can change the name of it. You can call it whatever you want. You can change the description, so it automatically generates a description, and then you can go from there. But if you just need an idea for a quick dungeon for like a one-off session for a group of people you happen to get together, you can just boom, plop this one out. So the format for the 5-room dungeon is basically your first room is your entrance, right? And there's going to be some sort of guardian at the entrance. Typically, it's like a monster, or could be a trap, could be some other thing that guards your entrance. It's basically, why is it that nobody's looted this dungeon yet? Why is it that your heroes are here and it hasn't been looted yet? And this is what you would have in room 1. Okay. Room 2 is going to be a role-playing encounter or a puzzle of some sort. So you're gonna come across something in room 2 that sort of, if you navigate it correctly, will unlock a little bit of the mystery of this place. It might be you meet somebody, you know, another adventurer who's dying on the ground, tells you watch out for the whatever, you know, or it could be there's like a tapestry that has like an image on it, and you have to just sort of examine the tapestry and decipher what is happening there to determine how you're going to face the final boss at, you know, in another room. That's room 2. Room 3 is typically some sort of trick happens. So when you get into room 3, you know, maybe you're looking at a chest, but the chest isn't what it appears to be. It's trapped, or you know, it's got a false bottom that leads to another chamber or something like that. Room 4 is the climax. It's the big battle. It's normally where the boss is, or it's where the huge horde of creatures are. And then room 5 is the conclusion, or the reward, or the plot twist. So after you've defeated the big boss, you find yourself in room 5, and maybe that's where he keeps his treasure, or maybe you find out that he wasn't the bad guy after all. As a matter of fact, he was the good guy. You just killed the good guy, and now you've got to find the real bad guy, and here's the map to his place. This is the format of the 5-room dungeon. And it makes for a satisfying kind of adventure that you can just sort of throw together quickly. So all week last week, I was playing around with this tool and just coming up with 5-room dungeons.
Nice.
And you know what? I'll show you one. What's this? What do we got? Notes. April's a boring month and needs more spice. Oh, that's why. Okay. I'll go to my drive here. One sec. Okay, so here's one that I made last week called the Sunken Shrine. So the Sunken Shrine, the entire shrine is flooded in 2 feet of brackish salt water. Once a shrine to some long-forgotten god, it is now a tomb for the drowned attendants. The moonstone here has made them restless, and they attack any who disturb this place. So in my game world, moonstone is like a rare element that is literally, you know, a space rock that is used for powering magic, magic potions, and it's a magical sort of radioactive material kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah. So in room 1, to the north is a locked pair of double doors. This chamber is guarded by 5 drowned skeletons. Moonstone crystal formations glow from their eye sockets. Room 2 Once a prayer chamber, now flooded, the chest at the south end of the once contained the foodstuffs donated to the priests of the shrine. Now the chest is empty, save for a scrap of fabric that depicts an unknown icon. Invisible barriers block the passages to the east and west. Only by performing the prayer ritual depicted in the walls mosaics can anyone enter these chambers. So yeah, so there's like the holy symbol that was on a tabard is in that chest in the water, and you use it later on. And then so in room 3, this large room was once the common sleeping chamber for the shrine's attendants. Rotted mats float in the salt water. There are 7 drowned skeletons that will animate and attack any who enter who do not make the sign of the forgotten god. They too have moonstone crystal formations growing in their cavities. Around the neck of one is a key that fits in one of the locks in the door to Area 5. The skeleton will give the key to one who displays the holy symbol of the forgotten god. So if you have the scrap of fabric that has the holy symbol of the forgotten god from the chest in the other room, and you show it to him or you give it to him, he'll give you the key and he won't fight you. And then in room 4, once a chamber for attendants to eat and socialize, rotted tables and chairs float in the salty water. There are 4 drowned skeletons like in the other areas, and 1 high priest skeleton with elemental water magic. He has double the hit points and holds the second key to Area 5. And then Area 5 chamber is basically a statue of the god. There's a number of like little relics that are made of moonstone, and there's about 20 pounds of moonstone here, plus a bunch of other relics that are worth about 50 gold pieces. So yeah, so that's the 1-room dungeon, or that's a 5-room dungeon. And this is Wadaboo, and this is the random dungeon generator. It's a really cool tool.
Wait! Don't close it.
Okay, what?
Autistic editor's note.
Yeah.
If the water is brackish,
yeah,
you don't have to call it salt.
I know.
And
I've got a couple of typos.
Instead of salty water, maybe use the term brine.
Brine, that's not bad either. Yeah. Briny water. Yeah, and I think 2 feet might be too deep because that could really impact combat. So maybe I'll make it 1 foot deep water.
Like just to below the knee would actually pose a very interesting problem.
Yeah.
Already, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it'll slow you. You can't move at full speed.
Make some rooms sunken so that they're waist deep.
Yeah. Well, this one here, where there's steps off of room 5, off the central chamber of room 5, that's completely flooded because the steps go down, and you can't see them until you start walking. You know, oh shit, that room's completely flooded. Now there's nothing in there, but maybe that's where all the water from the ocean comes in. So anyway, yeah. So that's the sunken shrine. That's Wadaboo. It's a cool little tool. If you're not familiar with it, I like it. I like playing around with it, and I got to do something with my day at work. Otherwise, yeah, I have a piece of moonstone since the next 6 minutes. Like legit from the moon. That's pretty cool. It's nice. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt. What is the moon composed of? What kind of material is it? Is it like granite? It's just stone? Like
it's granite, but
they call it regolith, moon regolith, right?
It's mostly cheese, from what I understand.
Oh, cheese, yeah, green cheese. Moon's made of green cheese. All right, let's move on.
Actually, it's made of some sort of like advanced metal alloy created by aliens, because it's actually a satellite here to spy.
That's right, and it's hollow because if you bang on it, it rings.
Yeah,
I've heard that. The semi-fresh gemstone called moonstone. Oh, okay. So it's an earth rock. It's not a moon rock.
It's also valuable ore in Skyrim.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
For making elven materials, I think.
Yeah, because they make glass weapons, right? Glass weapons and glass armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which seems crazy to me. I've got a glass helmet. Fuck, I hope so. Nobody hits me in the face.
Well, it's nuclear glass, right?
I know, it's crazy. It doesn't break. It's actually very strong glass. Yeah. It reminds me of a video of Christopher Walken playing Skyrim. Have you seen it?
No, but that sounds amazing.
All right, I'll find it for you. Okay.
Dragons.
Oh, you know what? Since we're there, before we move on, since we're still talking about gaming and shit, let me find it, and then we'll
Can
little
you do a
rapper.
walk-in? A walk-in is so distinct and yet subtle. It's really hard.
The guy who does it is amazing. He does a good. He does a good. What's it called? Morgan Freeman as well. Yeah, here it is.
I think Kevin Pollux is the best one I've ever heard.
I'm not
Because
sure
he
if I
tells
know.
this whole story about how he met Christopher Walken. And I don't even know if the story's real. But
Oh, I've heard Kevin Pollux. Yeah. He's fucking great.
Yeah.
This guy here, he's part of Blame Society Films or Game Society Films. They've got 2 channels. Game Society Pimps is what they're called, and they got Blame Society Films. So let me present. I'll go full screen. Don't believe this is muted. Nope. All right, you can see that?
Yep.
I'm Christopher Walken, and I play video games. I got a fever. The only cure is more Skyrim. Today, I'm going to show you around my castle, and maybe we'll step outside for a bit. This is my castle. That's my spider friend, Pete. He needs a spanking. I got to call a plumber. There's a lot of steam coming out of the vents. It's not supposed to do that. Call the electrical union, too, because the lights are broken. I don't even know what those things are supposed to do. All right, kids, I'm going in my elf-tanned alpha machinary. Look around, see if I can find a saber-toothed cat. Because I need one from a zoo. Starting a zoo in this game. Bet you didn't know you could do that, but you can. Egg sacs. Always harvest those. Oh, look, little friend. What do you do, little spider fellow? Oh, I smack this shield ineffectively forever. Yeah, flip that switch. Smack that bitch. One time I was walking around these dungeons and I found a strawberry just sitting there, no one around. I ate it. It's good. So this is the game of the year, huh? Feels like I've been playing this for 8 days. Who makes glass helmets? Some dumb son of a bitch never picked glass out of his face, I guarantee. Always save your games, kids. Damn spiders everywhere. I like to take an ear off my victims. It's quirky, but I like it. I'm two-fisting it now. Look out, world. Whoa. Sassy little bitch took 2 whacks. These guys, they don't know who they're messing with. Pots. Sometimes there's honey in them. If you're a bear, you would like that, I guess. Somebody spilled probably a Balrog. They're clumsy creatures, Balrogs. Yeah, burn that shit. Flame it up. It's getting so smoky in here. I think I'm going to go outside and look for some action. This challenge is breaking through the enemy barricade. Okay, time to open the drawbridge. I get it. All these arrows flying everywhere. Somewhere around here, there's a switch. Hey, do you know where I can find a switch for the bridge? Roll off.
Is that
maybe it's
right?
up here?
Yeah.
On the roof. Excuse me. Do you know where I can find it?
The Empire.
Never mind. Excuse me. Do you know where I... Never mind. This guy, he looks like he knows his way around. Do you know where I could find a switch? Sorry. I get so nervous. There's the switches. And that's how you open a drawbridge in Skyrim, kids. Let me know what games you'd like to see me do in a walking through. Bye, kiddies.
It's all right.
That guy does a really good walking.
It's okay. It's okay. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to do. Kevin Pollux is mind-boggling.
Kevin Pollux is amazing. I've heard his. Yeah, his is really good. Anyway, yeah, that's been around forever. That video is old. Let me see. How old is that video? Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, it's from 12 years ago. He did a Mario one too.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch the Mario one?
No, is he the guy who does Morgan Freeman, I Can Smell You?
I think so. He does a bunch of those voices though.
Because that Morgan Freeman one is fantastic. He's doing it live with a bunch of people playing a game, and they're all cracking up the whole time.
Christopher Walken plays Double Dragon. Christopher Walken plays Batman, Arkham City. Fuck, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3. He's done a ton of them. Holy shit. I didn't realize that. Christopher walked through Last of Us. Walking through in Freeman, Destiny. I'm gonna share this one too, because he does a pretty good Morgan Freeman.
Do it.
Do it. We'll get back to the more serious shit soon. I promise.
Okay.
What?
Go for it.
Morgan Freeman and story time. Damn it, Morgan. Hey, excuse me. Story time. Once upon a time in the future, on the planet Mars, 3 Earthmen found something they didn't expect. A giant ball of crack cocaine. It would change humanity forever. With 10 lifetimes of cocaine for everyone on the planet. Lifespans were shortened by 2/3. Everyone was higher than a Domino's pizza dishwasher all day long. Society fell to pieces in a week. The few who survived just had more coke for themselves, the way they looked at it. But what they didn't realize is that the owner of this humongous ball of baby tea, a race of alien baseheads called the Fallen, wanted their baby back. And weren't no cabbage head flunky tweakers gonna stand in their way. Many years later, Peter Dinklage, the guy who plays Tyrion Lannister on Game of Thrones, he finally found the only person who could stop the Fallen. It was a woman so strong that she ingested enough crack cocaine to kill a whale and Keith Richards.
It worked. You're alive.
I need some crack. They called her Defender of the Flakes, Protector of the P-Funk, the Guardian of the G-Rock, depending on who you talk to. But her real name was Sweet Hand Sally. Palms so smooth it's like you're making love to cotton candy. She had to find Rixus, the Devil Archon, and send a message to the Fallen. And because he owed her money, Sally headed over to the Darkness Zone, where Rixus and his cronies hung out. Rixus sent a bunch of vandals, dregs, and skanks at her, but she wasn't having any of it. Then they found him.
It's in the walls.
I want my money, bitch! Sally decided to give Rixus something to think about.
You just killed an Archon.
The Guardian always pays her debts. Sally sent quite a message to the Fallen when she killed Rixus. Literally, she actually sent them a message via the Postmaster robot. The message was, "Go fuck yourself. Crack Planet is mine." And that's how Sweet Hand Sally fulfilled her destiny and got her crack rock, baby. For other videos like this one here, check out Game Society Pimps. And for professional voiceovers and impersonations, go to jasonsvoices.com.
So I've got one. I've got one I'd like to share.
Alrighty.
Because this is amazing. How do I thing? Yeah, it's again, it's a Morgan Freeman impression.
Yeah, so that guy, Jason's Voices, he's the same guy who does the walking.
Okay. I don't know who this is. I found it and it's great. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Max, can you pretend like you're Morgan Freeman coming to kill me?
Please
Please do that.
I can smell you. I'm creeping around right now. You just can't see me as I've evolved invisibility. Although I might have a measly shiv, it is quite effective when applied to the jugular.
Oh, my face is probably bright red and I'm crying. Oh God! Oh God! Say my Morgan Freeman.
Can you do Tyrone?
Sorry, that was it. I just felt that. It makes me crack up every time.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, folks. What do we got next? I'm sure there's some. There's got to be some.
Canadian politics.
We did Canadian politics with what's his face?
Guibault.
Guibault.
They say you feel trapped in a man's body.
Well, sometimes I get the menstrual cramps real hard.
Time for true news, folks. I'm sure there's some true news out there. Let's see what we got.
How many minors did they give AIDS this time?
Tell me that joke again.
It wasn't a joke. It was a real thing that somebody just applied to an existing comic.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Now I remember. Let me see if I can find something. I'm sure there was something I saw earlier. Oh, yeah, I remember. So this guy was on CNN, and it was like a round table of pundits. If I can find it. One sec here.
Well, give us the gist while you're looking.
So around this round table of pundits, and this black guy says, so when boys go into women's sports, and this guy, no, they're not boys. They're trans girls. And I'm not going to sit here and listen to you. He just loses his shit.
Amazing.
This guy's just being a total fucking pussy. Yeah, here it is. Oh, somebody commenting on it. I just want the fucking thing.
And yeah, I'm with Billboard Chris on this one.
What does Billboard Chris say about it?
Oh, no, just in general. There's no such thing as trans children.
That's it. Trans kids are not a fucking thing. Fuck you. You scumbag. Yeah, Blair White's the same way. Well, I mean, Blair White's not the same way because she said she knew she was different when she was a kid, like a really young kid, but she had no interest in doing anything until, she was an adult, right?
Mm.
I believe she started living as a girl before she was 18, but she didn't do anything hormone-wise. She didn't do anything surgical until well after she was an adult, which,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, that seems reasonable to me. And here's the thing that bothers me. Okay, here's a bit of true news. So I've been going on X and I've been doing my For You feed, right?
Sure.
You have your following, so only people you follow show up in your feed. And then you have your For You, where things that you commonly comment on or commonly engage in is being spread, whether you like the people who are saying it or not. And there's this thing going around that Donald Trump's whole thing based on, the trans kids issue and kids being given operations and stuff like that. It's not happening. I'm like, of course it's fucking happening. There's stories about it every goddamn week. How do you explain Chloe Cole? She was transitioned at 15. And now she's, an adult and she's like, I regret it. How do you explain these detransitioners who this shit happened to them when they were kids?
Well, this is that wild thing. If it isn't happening, why would you be so upset about people outlawing it?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, if it's not happening, then and then the other thing they're saying, it's such a minute part of, politics. Why, like, it doesn't deserve the attention it's getting because it's such a infinitesimally small segment of the population. It really bears no relevance on the day-to-day politics of the nation. Well, it does because people are upset about it. So even if it's only happening to 1 in 100 kids, that's one too many. in 100 kids.
Like, it's mutilating children. If it's 1 in a million, people should be upset about it. Like,
Well, you remember a few years back, there, the practice in Somalia and some of the other countries over there in the Middle East and in North Africa.
FGM.
Yeah, female genital mutilation, the female circumcision, where they cut off the clitoris. People were all losing their shit over that. But here in the West, oh, you've got a vagine? Well, don't worry about it. We'll cover that up with a fake dick. We'll just chop a piece of your leg muscle out or your arm muscle, and we'll turn it into a fake dick for you.
Don't forget some cadaver tissue goes in there as well.
Yeah. It's insane. The fact that we've gone from there to here in such a short span of time leads me to believe that, the people on the left are literally insane at this point. And you see all these people talking about how they want to kill, like, Blue Sky's a thing now, right?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Blue Sky is alternate platform, which is kind of like Twitter/X, but it's for the left. And people going on there saying some really horrendous shit, like kill Republicans. They're saying literally kill Republicans. And I'm like, why aren't they, like, where's the FBI? Where are people? Why aren't there people showing up the door saying, knock, 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 you can't say shit like that, we're going to lock you up? It's absolutely insane. It's like people on the left have literally lost their minds.
It's oh, okay, maybe this is an oddity. I'm having thoughts. I should be smoking a joint while I do this.
You smoking a joint or a cigarette?
I should be smoking a joint. Like,
oh, okay.
They haven't lost their minds. They've lost their souls. And it's that filling the religious gap, the need for a spirituality, a higher power, with all this craziness that they refuse to question, right?
Yeah.
Because they actually like people desire it, and they know there's something missing because they dismiss the entire religious aspect. Actually, no, sorry, I'm just thinking of the meme. There's the starter pack memes?
No. Oh, yeah. Okay, I do. Yeah.
Starter pack, great.
Yeah.
Spirituality starter pack. It's like a chick doing yoga. There's some crystals, candles, and sage burning, and it's like spirituality advanced pack. It's just black coffee and cigarettes.
It's funny. Yeah, no, you may be right there with regards to them just losing their souls. Secular humanism, the camp that I used to belong in, needs a way to replace religion, and so they replace it with the state. They replace the authority, and this is why people on the left cannot stand somebody with a different point of view. They hate it. Excuse me. They hate it that some people think differently than them. They can't fathom it because they believe that the authority lies in their mind. The authority lies in their beliefs. And in turn, the authority is vested in the state. Because there's no higher power, there's no such thing as objective truth or objective good and evil. The state decides what that is, and the state functions as an extension of their own will.
Yeah, so I think we have the steps on that sort of inverted, that they don't go to the state by default. They go to an ideology and then seek to make the ideology the state that rules over everybody else.
Right, yeah. The state becomes the authority that enforces their will.
Yeah. But it's but they're filling the spiritual gap with an ideology, right? And
right, but the ideology needs a god.
Sure.
In China, it's Mao Zedong. In Russia, it's Stalin. In the West, it's Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden or Barack Obama.
Well, it's oppression. It's the oppression is the god, and these are all like their high priests.
Right.
Yeah.
They're their popes on earth, right? Yeah. The ideology is the religion. Their representative of that religion on earth would be the head of whatever state they happen to be in and are able to institute that figurehead. that type of government. Yeah, it's crazy to deal with people like that, because I know people like that who they can't fathom that anybody holds a belief contrary to theirs. Like, I've had friends say, I don't know how I feel about it. When I say, well, this is what I think about it, and they didn't realize that I held that belief. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Well, don't tell me what you feel about it. Don't worry about what you feel about it. What do you think about it? Can you think about how someone else might think about something? Like, that's what it comes down to. Can you entertain the thought that someone else might disagree with you without immediately casting aspersions of them being evil because they don't believe the same thing you do? And this is the problem. They're evil. They view evil, or what they view as evil, is dissent.
Someone they would refer to as a old bearded white guy said something along the lines of, it's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it.
Right. But not them.
No.
No. This is the thing, and I get into this argument with people on the left all the time. I'm like, look, here's the difference between you and me. I think you're wrong. I don't attribute any malice or any evil idea to you. You just have a point of view that I don't agree with. I think it's wrong. I think your position on subject A is incorrect. Here's my position on subject A, and this is why I believe this, why I think this way on subject A. Now you look at that, even though I've explained why I view it that way, and you tell me the reason I think of subject A in that way is because I'm evil. You can't entertain the idea that my position is predicated on certain points of view or certain principles that I hold. As a matter of fact, any principle I hold must be evil because it's not the same principle that you hold. It's absolutely mind-boggling to deal with people like this. And this is where the NPC meme comes from. You've been programmed with a point of view by your ideological possession, as Jordan Peterson would say, and you can't ever deviate from it. And to deviate from it causes you such emotional and mental harm that anybody who proffers a different point of view must mean you harm, must want you to destroyed, or want you to lose your mind.
And they don't understand the practical problems that arise from some of the things they believe. Go Dallas.
Take that, Tim Walz.
Okay, so compassion generally perceived as good. So more compassion is better. So infinite compassion is infinitely good. But if all people everywhere had infinite compassion, there'd just be a big pile of organs and nobody left.
A big pile of organs?
Yeah.
Because everybody be donating organs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I mean, it's what do they call it? What does Peterson call it? Low resolution thinking.
Mm.
You know, it's not always A or B. It's A, sometimes B, and B, sometimes A.
Also C, rarely.
And C, or even D.
There.
Right. And this is the other thing that people have often said. A liberal or a leftist, I don't like to use the term liberal because to me, liberal is actually has decent connotations to it. A leftist cannot do the mental work to think cause and effect beyond A to B. They don't consider C, D, E, F, and G of any given thing that they might propose. They don't see downstream what the cause and effect of any given action they might do. That's why the saying, you know, before you decide to tear down a fence, find out why it was put there in the first place. There's a reason why it was there. You know, but if you just see a fence and say that's got to come down, it offends mine eyes, or I don't see a purpose for it, so therefore it must be removed.
Well, I have noticed sometimes talking to people I know with whom I disagree on these things, that largely we often seem to want the same outcome. But they always propose solutions that would end up leading to the opposite of the outcome they want, and they don't know that it will, even though it already has and continues to do so.
Because of a knee-jerk response to what they're witnessing or what they're perceiving, right?
Well, like the most common one is, I don't mind paying a little more in taxes if it solves problem A, B, and C. And it's like, you do pay more in taxes, and none of those problems are solved. They're actually worse. Right,
Yeah.
but if we just paid a little more in taxes, no.
Yeah.
Like you're
No,
obviously wrong. I too want to solve that problem, but
Yeah.
taxes obviously are not the answer here,
That's
right?
just it. I want healthcare that is both quality and accessible. And in a perfect world, I'd like it to be affordable as well. But you can't have all three. And just throwing more money at it doesn't make it either quality or more accessible. Because we keep doing that and it doesn't get better. So maybe it's time to take a different approach.
You would think, but no. They can't
And this is
their heads around it.
and this is the problem that we have in Canada. Sorry, folks, we're going to go back to Canada because Twin and I are both Canadian. But Canada is so like, what's his name? Tommy Douglas. He's the guy who put forward the socialized healthcare here in Canada back in the day, right? He's the one who sort of engineered it, drew up the blueprints for it, right? Tommy Douglas. I think that was his name. He's lauded as a hero for Canada. Everybody loves him. He's a great guy. He belongs on fucking money and all this shit. Oh, excuse me. The problem is that once that shit was instituted in Canada, Canadians basically became sheep of their own government, because we now became reliant on our government, and we were more than willing to say, "We'll rely on you. Just try and treat us fairly now and again." And then as it moved on, as things progressed, we became satisfied with, well, don't try and just try not to take all my money. And now we've got to the point where they're taking practically all of our money.
But there was also
and they're not effective at providing the service for which they promised.
Yeah. But there's also been some other subtle things that have become less subtle over the years, where basically they could use the socialized healthcare system as an excuse to infringe further on your rights.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, okay, so let's say you're a motorcycle rider, you like the wind in your hair.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, you got to wear a helmet, because helmets, like without a helmet, you could receive some terrible brain injury in an accident, and then
we have to pay for your health.
Then we had right. So we now, because we have infringed on your rights, must further infringe on your rights.
Yeah, which begs the question: why haven't they outlawed smoking in Canada? Why haven't they just simply made it illegal? If the idea is that it's a burden on our tax system because people get sick and they need treatment,
it's because of the tax revenue it brings in. That's why they can't do it. Right?
It's just it. Exactly.
But it's yeah, like that is another one that's nuts, the way that they've pushed into private businesses, right? It's my bar, right? You don't smoke, you don't like smoke, don't come in my bar. People smoke in my bar. No, you can't. Brr. Well, like what?
What about people who work there? They have a right to breathe clean air.
Somewhere else.
You can work somewhere else. There's plenty of places to work. Just know that if you work here, you're going to be faced with smoke. It's pretty simple to understand. No, I agree. Government has no business telling people what they can put in their bodies in that sense. That being said, I don't think it's good to put everything in your body. There's certain things you shouldn't put in your body.
Sure. I'm not saying it's good for you. I'm saying it's your choice.
Right. But on the other hand, at the other end of the spectrum, the government says, well, you know what? If you're going to be addicted to fentanyl and crack, you may as well get good, clean stuff. So yeah. If you want to be a zombie on the street, well, be a zombie on the street with the drugs that we provide. Here you go. This
on
drug,
the taxpayer dime, no less.
Hydromorphone is shit. I can sell this to a kid at a grade school, get the money, and buy the real shit. And that's what they do.
Well, and you know what's wild, right? Is they've called it safe supply.
Oh, fuck.
And so we're finding out that there are high school students overdosing and dying because they see this government label from the safe supply program and think it's actually safe. Right? And they're dosing God knows what. They have no idea what. All they know is they're getting a good deal on government funded safe supply pills.
Yep.
And then they die.
Right. But in a lot of cases, they're not even taking the safe supply pills.
Oh, no, the high school kids love them.
Oh, yeah, because fuck, it says safe supply. So, yeah, no, it's crazy. I want to share something else. This is in keeping what we've been talking about with regards to government and its ubiquity and how it's turned into something of a shibboleth. I think I'm using that word properly.
I don't know that word.
A shibboleth, I believe, is a monster that's beyond control.
Cool.
Or maybe it's something else. Let me just double check. I'll Google that.
Jamie, pull that up.
Jamie, pull this up. Shibboleth definition.
How do you spell it? Is it CH?
SH. SHIBBOLETH, a custom, principle, or belief distinguishing a particular class or group of people, especially a long-standing one, regarded as outmoded or no longer important. So our current government is a shibboleth. And it sounds like a monster, but it probably has more definitions than some that might have to used as a test of nationality, but it's difficult to pronunciation. It's that shibboleth. What is an example of a shibboleth?
Chablis is a wine. Yeah, well, yes.
But anyway, government is the current system of government is a shibboleth. Let me share this from Northern European hottie Eva Vlar.
Vlaardenhoek?
Yeah, Vlaardenbroek, whatever her name is.
Is it Broek or Hoek?
It's Eva Vlaardingerbroek.
Broek.
All right, we're gonna make this. We're gonna maximize this. You can see that, yeah?
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go.
Did you know that already back in 1840, French philosopher Alexis de Tocqueville very accurately predicted and described in his book Democracy in America what type of tyranny a modern population like the American one had to be fearful of? Because as Tocqueville predicted, tyranny in a modern democratic society like America would look very different from the types of tyranny that European nations had faced up until then in aristocratic societies, for example. Let me quote, "It covers the service of society with a network of small, complicated rules, through which the most original minds and the most energetic characters cannot penetrate to rise above the crowd. The will of man is not shattered, but softened, bent, and guided. Men are seldom forced by it to act, but they are constantly restrained from acting. Such a power does not destroy, but it prevents existence. It does not tyrannize, but it compresses, enervates, extinguishes, and stupefies a people, till each nation is reduced to nothing better than a flock of timid and industrious animals, of which the government is the shepherd." Well, if that is not an accurate description of what actually ended up happening, not just to America, but to all modern democratic societies who have turned into absolute bureaucratic nightmares, then I don't know what is. Tocqueville was absolutely right. And that's why I'm so excited and happy to congratulate Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk on their appointments of the leader of the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, because for the first time in American history, now actively, there will be a government organization working against this type of tyranny that Tocqueville warned about. Did you know that?
Immediately, I thought of Daniel Penny. That doesn't compel men to act, but compels them not to. And because when you do, you get in trouble.
Right, exactly. And what his trial's going on right now.
It didn't come to violence, and I didn't kill a man, but I did something like that on the subway when I was 22, 23. Right. And can you it's just wild to think oh wow, you're literally telling people don't help, right? And you remember hearing that story about the woman on a New York subway who was raped for 40 minutes or something,
people just
while 12 people filmed it because Nobody called the cops. Nobody intervened. They just stood there gawking with their phones.
It's disgusting. It's, you know what? It's like the do you remember the story? It was back in the 1970s of Kitty Genovese.
Yeah, Kitty Genovese. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the story's bullshit. It didn't actually happen, but it was an urban myth that it did, and it basically was holding up a mirror to a society that had become too blasé or apathetic to the plight of their fellow man. Now, if it was real, if it did happen, then so be it. But we're at that point now. So if Kitty Genovese wasn't real in the 1970s, it's certainly real now.
See, but here's the other thing: is whether or not it was true, it was real because that's what people felt about New York at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
That
The
people were
perception was
literally
reality,
getting, they were literally getting away with murder, and it's. So I can't remember who said it, but someone said something along the lines of, "Every single myth you've ever heard is based on something real."
Yeah,
nobody made it up. It just got legendary over time, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, do you remember, was this a decade ago? Longer? I think it was actually before the comic book Kick-Ass was written. Some crazy fucking people were dressing up like superheroes and going into their local shitholes in their town. There's like usually a shithole in every city, right?
Yeah.
And trying to be like real life superheroes.
Yeah, and they were getting stabbed or getting their asses kicked or whatever.
Strangely, a lot of them were quote unquote getting away with it and actually having positive effects.
Well, that's like Phoenix Jones, right? Before he became a drug dealer, drug addict. That was his whole thing. He wanted to clean up his neighborhood, but it turned out he was just a grifter. Yeah, there was a documentary made called about real life superheroes.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. One guy dressed all in red biker armor.
Yeah.
And he chased a drug dealer out of the park.
I basically said, "Get out of here." Yeah, he went to drug dealers who were sitting in the park selling drugs on a picnic table and said, "Hey, we know what you're doing. Get out of here."
And it took like 40 minutes, and they kept threatening him, and he wouldn't back down. And finally, they effed off. Yeah. Just really like, nobody do this. Like, this is. But
it's kind of funny you mentioned that because I was the other night. Thursday.
Oh, sorry, but yes, sorry. Yeah. Every one of those guys referenced Kitty Genovese.
Yeah. The apathy of the New Yorkers. Yeah. Well, this is it, right? People see. I remember there was a time in Toronto where there was basically gangs of kids, like teenagers, and they would get together in large groups, like 20, 30 kids, and they would just go up and down like Yonge Street or some of the main streets in Toronto and just terrorize people. They'd be like pushing them in the ground. They would be smashing windows, and there was no reason for it. It was just like a mob kind of, like it wasn't protesting, it wasn't black bloc. It was just a bunch of kids being a bunch of assholes. And I remember thinking about this. If I ever saw that, I would be so angry. I want to go down there and just stop them. You know what I mean? I'm like, of course I can't stop them. It's fucking 30-1. And I was thinking, why aren't there people just standing up saying, fuck you? Because you'd have to get, if there's 30, you'd have to get 40 or 50 to stop them.
No.
You think it's just one guy standing up there in a brightly colored suit?
No. I think if you're a half decent fighter and there's a mob like that, the vast majority of them are fucking cowards. And if you get one or two good shots in early, you'll scatter them.
Maybe
they'll see their leader go down and be like, fuck this.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to find their leader, though, right? And they're not always, you don't know.
Oh, it's always apparent.
Yeah, well, maybe. In any event, I was going to say something. I was watching a live stream. Greg Wycliffe was hosting a live stream the other night on X. Did you happen to step in on it?
I didn't actually watch it, but it was the debate, right?
Yeah, it was a debate between two social media people, one of whom was arguing against the other's point of view. Now, this had to do with Maxime Bernier putting a photo up about him meeting with a bunch of Hindus and saying, "See, here's a bunch of Hindus who love Canada, and they're the type of immigrants that we want. You know, they're They might be, you know, former Indian nationals, but they're Canadian citizens who want an end to mass migration and blah 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 blah. And so this one guy was saying, this is over for the PPC. Mad Max is pandering to the ethnic crowd, just like Pierre Poilievre. Difference is Mad Max didn't put a fucking dot on his forehead and wear a faux turban in honor of Diwali or some shit, right? Pierre Poilievre did, and so did Justin Trudeau.
I did see that Greg Wycliffe Remembrance Day video.
Yes, that was a good video.
We'd be speaking German, and then he shows them all speaking Hindi and Punjabi.
Yeah. So he was hosting this debate, and now one of the guys was basically saying, I can't remember what his name was, his ex name, but he was saying that it comes
Ferryman's
down.
Toll?
Sorry,
Ferryman's Toll and
Yeah.
Je suis Translander.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Those are the two. So Ferryman's Toll is a ethno-nationalist. He believes that Canada should be for European descendants. The guy who's called Je suis trans, and I don't think he's transgender. I think he just has trans in his name. He was saying that no, we need to embrace our culture, which is predicated on Christian values, and we need to instill that and hold people to a standard when they come here. But if we court the white nationalists, we court the ethno-nationalist vote, then it undermines the PPC. Now, what was the other guy's name again?
Ferryman's Toll.
Ferryman's Toll was saying it's too late for politics. We need to stand up and be, you know, whatever. And so he was talking about how people were criticizing the group of people dressed in black down at Jackson Square in Hamilton, who had the banner that said, "Stop mass immigration," or mass deportations now is what it said.
Right, right.
And he was talking about how there's this one guy out in, I think it's somewhere in Ontario, but maybe it's out west. He's on YouTube. He's on X. He's called Slurms or Slurms. Slurm. Anyway, he gets dressed up in a T-Rex costume or a chicken costume, and he holds a sign up that says "Mass deportation now." And he goes to the side of highways and just stands there with this sign. And he's like, this guy's great because he's putting it out there. And I'm like, but how effective is it to do that? Like, that's a very sort of, I don't want to say controversial I guess controversial, bombastic, so to speak, phrase to say mass deportations now. It's a little bit too extreme for the Canadians to accept. Now, for all I know, the guy's getting tons of honks, and people are going, yeah, mass deportations now. As far as I know, he hasn't been attacked by anybody. But I will say this. I find it very disturbing that, one, Canada now has a climate where Khalistanis can march and say, get out of Canada, go back to Europe. This is Khalistanis own Canada now. Did you see that?
There's so few, though. But it
doesn't matter. It's Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau loves the Khalistanis, and he doesn't give a fuck about the Hindus. And then not only that, Mississauga Mayor came out and said Yawa Sinwar is a hero and a freedom fighter. And they had on November 12th, they had a day of remembrance for Yawa Sinwar and other freedom fighters, is what they called them. And the Palestinians had a march in Mississauga, downtown Mississauga. And this was all basically, I think I saved it on my hold on. Where are my bookmarks? Yeah, you know what? Why don't we get into that? Hold on. It's time for.
Oh, that's so disgusting. Oh my God, that's the worst thing I ever heard in my life.
Yeah, here it is. Give me a moment. I will say this. You remember when we had what's his name, Greg Wycliffe on your channel a while back, like a long while back?
Sure.
And we were pussyfooting around the idea of talking about the Jewish question, right? Well, he's become very red-pilled because he's like, he was sort of smirking at the whole
Oh.
idea during this thing. He's like, I mean, he's full on. We need to say
He
hey,
hasn't
mass
he
deportation.
hasn't become anything. He's just showing his power level.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's showing his power level. That's true. Should have him back on at some point. One moment here. Yeah, here it is.
A real principled politician. This is a real principled politician that stood for the Palestinian oppressed people. Over 50,000 killed. Children shouting underneath the rubble. Children, little innocent babies that are shouting underneath the rubble. And all these politicians in Canada keep their mouths zipped and scared of the Zionist lobbies, but she stood up. We love people like this. Thank you guys. This is our Mandela. Sinwar is our Mandela. He stood up to the end and never submitted to the Zionist criminals and the occupiers of Palestine. He sacrificed his life, and he's now a symbol for Palestinians, and we will not let people defame him. We will stand up and we'll say that this man is a hero, and he represents the real Palestinians. Thank you.
Like, what do they think that does? Like,
well, when you
yelling
compare a terrorist, you compare a terror mastermind to Nelson Mandela.
But I mean, yelling "Free Palestine" in Canada, it's like if you want a free Palestine, go over to Palestine and fight for Palestine. What the fuck?
These are all former Israeli or Palestinian nationals, if you want to call them, here in Canada, talking about their what. There's a reason they left, right? They didn't want because they didn't want to fight for Palestine. Anyway, yeah, it's the fact that she apparently she came out and said Yahya Sinwar is a Palestinian Nelson Mandela. This woman who's see if I can find her here. My dog's barking her head off. Carolyn Parrish, mayor of Mississauga. He's just like Nelson Mandela. Yahya Sinwar planned massacre of 1,200 plus people, plus rape, torture, and ongoing kidnapping on October 7th, 2023. Oppressed and killed Palestinians who opposed him, and he loves Hitler. But apparently he's just like Nelson Mandela. As far as I know, Nelson Mandela, I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think he engaged in any terror attacks in South Africa, did he?
I don't know. But
I thought he was just an outspoken proponent of apartheid, of ending apartheid.
But did he love Hitler?
I don't think so. Something tells me.
You
know, I'm not going to go research the guy, but he's roundly accepted as being a decent fellow. Like my thought was he took kind of a Gandhi approach of nonviolence, and just was a vocal, outspoken person. Now maybe he was involved in some sort of like more violent acts from like a at arm's length kind of thing, but I don't know. Last I heard, he didn't plan terror attacks in South Africa, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, the thing, I don't want problems from overseas coming over here. I don't want to see people shitting on the streets. And Canada Man doesn't want to see that either. And he was talking to me a little while ago, and he listened in on the debate, and he mentioned that this Slurm guy, he doesn't necessarily agree with his message, but he said he kind of has the right idea about going out there, being a spectacle, and spreading a message. Now, Canada Man said he doesn't want to spread necessarily the mass deportation message, but he wants to spread something positive and uplifting, something that gets it in people's heads that Canada can be saved and Canada will be saved, and all it takes is our will. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll talk to Twin and see if we can come up with something. So, what do you think? Should Canada Man put on his, go out there in public with a sign that says something to inspire people, to get them to believe in Canada again, or what? And if so, what should that be?
I don't know. I mean, because I'm at that point where it's like mass deportations now, and it's not even like some weird out there thing. Well, we've got foreign students whose visas are up, and demanding permanent residence. It's like, what?
You know what they're doing? They're claiming refugee status.
How can you do that after going to school for 2.5 to 4 years? Like,
yeah, you're not refugees anymore. But here's the problem. Canada has this sort of like this blanket policy where if you claim to be a refugee, you get refugee status. They basically, and it's not a matter of like, you know, you'll find out in 3 months after being adjudicated that your refugee claim has been approved. No, they give it to you on the auspices that, well, we're going to assume you're a refugee, then we'll adjudicate your claim and tell you whether or not you're going to continue to receive the benefits of a refugee.
And that'll take 4 years.
And that'll take because they're fucking inundated with these applications now. They'll never get through them all. So,
like, if we have a student exchange program with a country,
yeah,
no, of course you can't claim fucking refugee status. That should be denied out, like flat denied.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, if I were to go over somewhere and study from Canada, I think I'd have a more legitimate claim to say refugee status. Like, Canada's a fucking shithole. I don't want to go back. You know, I don't agree with my government. My government wants to lock me up, wants to, you know, take away my bank account.
There's people shitting on the beaches.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, come on, man. Like, this is not, I don't know. Can you think of a phrase that could be put on a sign that Canada Man could hold in a public space where lots of cars and lots of people pass by, and he could get a response, like a positive response that isn't necessarily divisive or inflammatory in nature?
I think if it's not a little bit divisive or inflammatory, then there's no point, right?
I want it to be thought-provoking, but I don't think it should be necessarily divisive or inflammatory. Speaking of Canada Man, I want to share something real quick. Let's find his X account.
I mean, my first idea is actually just a bit of a ripoff of, you know, Donald Trump and the MAGA movement there. But instead of Canada first, how about Canadians first?
Oh, there you go. That's not bad. That's not bad because it's, you know, it's something every Canadian can get behind. And here's the thing: unlike what's his name, that guy on the debate, your name always
Ferryman Stoll.
Ferryman Stoll. I don't think that somebody who came from India, became a naturalized citizen of Canada, and now has a family here and has adapted to Canadian life, has Canadian values. I don't think he should be excluded from being considered Canadian. Like, I'm not. I would prefer, I'll say this, I would prefer if we prioritized on immigration, people from nations of the cross, people who share a common culture, than people who don't. That being said, if someone can come here and adapt to the culture, like if you're a second or third generation Indian and you're no longer Hindu, you're actually a Christian now, and you raise your kids as Christian, fine. You know, you've been here for 3 generations, and you're now, you know, you play fucking hockey with all the other kids. Your kids play hockey. They're in fucking Cub Scouts. Or beavers. I guess we have beavers in Canada when you're like really little. And you've adopted this Canadian way of life. You contribute, you participate, and you support your community. Fine, you're Canadian. You're as Canadian as, you know, as Craig Bragg or Irving Twin or John McKenzie, whoever.
I want to agree with you, but because of the level of migration that we've had over the past 5, 6, 10 years, that's just not the way it works anymore. That's not what happens now. I have people openly telling me they've come to this country not because they like this country and want to be part of it. They come here for money. Oh, and they're going to get their permanent residence soon. Yeah. It's like, okay. Fucking Maxime Bernier follows Canada, man.
Yeah, and liked my tweet. Somebody posted a question, you know, who would you vote for, Pierre Poilievre or whatever? And I'm like, Maxime Bernier is the true. Canada Man said, Maxime Bernier is the true hero. He gets my vote. Maxime Bernier liked it and then followed Real Canada Man. And then Candyman posted, "This is an unexpected honor." So good on you there, Candyman. You spelled honor wrong though. It should be an O-U-R. You're Canadian after all. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's not a bad idea. Canadians first. That's pretty good.
And I mean, that's basically what Max says, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Canadian includes anyone who is being Canadian.
Right, a Canadian citizen.
But
Someone
see,
who's
now
not,
there's no more barriers to entry, right?
right, but there's a barrier to citizenship. You have to be here a certain number of years. You have to, swear allegiance to the country and say you'll follow all the laws while you're here. And that means not shitting on the fucking pavement or the beach.
Sure, but shouldn't it also mean like not demanding justice for some other country and waving that country's flag while protesting in the street and attacking other people from some other part of that country that you don't like over there?
Agreed. Canadians first means that the government should follow the interests of Canadians, not a conflict in a foreign country. You know what? Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government seems to love Ukraine far more than it loves Canada. And that's probably because they've got a great money laundering operation going on with Volodymyr Zelensky, I should say. But Justin Trudeau hates this fucking country. He's tried his best to make it a post-national society. He can't wait for he wants it to be sort of the model for the WEF globalist agenda of what a post-national state is. We wouldn't even be considered a state in his mind. We're just a region of the global governance. Anyway,
the culture is shifting, but too slowly. And I don't think it's shifting as quickly as people are immigrating.
No, they aren't. You're absolutely right. And my hope is, and here I am laying all my hopes on, Donald Trump. My hope is that he's successful with his mass deportation operation. He's successful with completing the wall. My understanding is that the person, Homer, the guy here's another fucking pick, part of the MAGAvengers. Is it Timothy or Doug Homer or whatever his name is? He's the guy who's the border czar.
Yeah.
He's not just concerned about the U.S.-Mexico border. He said Canada's a problem fucking too.
Yeah.
We need to do something about this border. So good on him. My hope is that the mass deportation effort is actually successful, and that he impresses upon Pierre Poilievre the importance of a nationalist identity, and that he needs to embrace populism, like full-throated embrace of populism, to the point where Pierre Poilievre, when he becomes prime minister, becomes much more in line with a Maxime Bernier than Justin Trudeau light, which is my concern. He probably will be a Justin Trudeau light. He'll do the same things Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government wants to do, just slower.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little off topic here, but something I discovered the other day. I lost my shit. I mentioned, we have a temporary foreign worker program.
Yes.
And that it's subsidized, right? Like in Ontario, I think the minimum wage is going up to something stupid like $17.55 on January 2nd. Yeah. And it's supposed to match inflation, but as long as you keep doing it, inflation will never slow down. Like idiots.
The correct minimum wage is $0.
And I thought, yeah, I know. I knew there was a subsidy for temporary foreign workers' wages, that companies would get a government subsidy. And I thought it was in the realm of like $5 to $6. 50% of their wages are out of our tax dollars. This is a huge incentive for any company to basically just destroy resumes and say, I don't have enough employees. I need
Canadian workers,
temporary
yeah.
foreign workers.
Well, you notice that all the Tim Hortons, Sing Hortons,
Yeah.
most of the franchisees now, they're not what you would call old stock European Canadians.
No, they're all. It's Punjabi mostly, I think,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they only
did
hire.
you hear about the girl who got in shit and said, "Are we only?" She got fired.
Yeah.
For saying, "Are we only hiring Indians now?" Because she tried to put her friends' resumes in, like this, white
And
Canadian.
we went, no, because
and
we can.
like she said, "Oh, I know somebody who could work here. They're great." And they had experience. They were great. And these people got passed over, and other people were hired who were of Indian background. And she said, "Are we only hiring Indians now? What's going on?" She got fired for asking the question. No, quite frankly, I think she did it on social media. I'm not sure, but you shouldn't air your dirty laundry on social media when it comes to
No. This was a good thing, right?
Well, I mean, it's good to raise awareness of it, but if you don't want to get fired, it's probably not a good idea.
And get
I don't
fired.
think she gave a shit.
Important.
I don't think she gave a shit at the end.
They would have been looking to fire her anyway, so they could
replace. They want to replace her with a foreign-born worker. Yeah.
Now, here's something else that I don't think is public knowledge. Apparently, many of these franchise owners are running a huge scam with their temp foreign workers.
Yeah.
They're first off, we're covering half the wages for their foreign workers, and then they're turning around and saying, if you don't pay me $10,000 or whatever it is,
I'll make sure you go back.
I'm not going to sign the piece of paper that says I need you to stay.
Oh, wow. So they're blackmailing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all cultures are evil are equal, I should say. And this is the thing, right? Canadians have basically, and this is one of the things that Trees was saying. We've turned our back on the culture. We've abandoned it. Canadians no longer give a shit about. So when Justin Trudeau made that crack a bunch of years back saying Canadians have no core culture, truth of the matter is, at that time he was wrong, but now he's not. Canadians don't. You know what Canadian culture is? Well, at least we're not Americans. That's what Canadian culture.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's the prevailing attitude of most of the people I talk to. When you start talking about politics or social issues, well, at least we're not America. Like, what are you talking about? We could stand to be a little bit more like America. No, I would want to be like America. That's the thing. That's how we identify ourselves, not American.
There's been a monstrous demographic shift in this country too over my lifetime. If I'm not mistaken, I was finding out in the first, second, third grade, Canada has a population of like 26 million people.
Yeah.
Today it's 42.
40. Yeah.
When it was 26 million people, it was about 93 to 97% European descent.
Right. Now it's 76 or something like that?
67.
Ooh.
Yeah. And up until about 10 years ago, basically before Trudeau, it was still in the mid to high 80s. So this huge demographic shift has happened over the past decade. Yeah, like.
Well, and this is the thing. Like, people talk about, part of the reason Trump got elected in the United States was because of, as he described it, the invasion from South America and, Mexico, right? From the South. It's an invasion. People coming across the southern border is an invasion. And people say, "Oh no, it's terrible to call it," because these are just good, honest people who want to get a better opportunity in Canada. I'm like, Joe Biden is on video saying, like a decade ago, when he was vice president, he was in a meeting somewhere in Washington D.C. He was in a big table, bunch of people. And he talked about an unstopping or an unending stream of immigrants, to the point that in a few years, the white old stock Americans will be an absolute minority in this country. And then he goes, and that's a good thing. And how this video did not make the rounds in the during the 2020 election cycle. After Trump had been trying and been stymied in his first term to stop mass migration into the country. How this never, surfaced and didn't get fucking played on a 24-hour loop and all the ads, it boggles my mind. I'm like, he might have been able to win at that point. But now, after 4 years of Biden, where he basically realized that vision of an unending stream of immigrants coming over the border and being flown across the country into swing states for 4 years, now people finally get it. Hey, yeah, man, we are being invaded and shit is turning south. So, yeah. My hope is that he's able to stop it if he survives to inauguration and being sworn in.
I think there's too many moving parts now, and too many layers of defense.
Yeah.
Right. Like, even if they're just nominees for the now, with a JD Vance as a VP, with having the Congress, with having the Senate.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that I'm kind of thankful for, or appreciative of, I should say. Thune coming out. So Thune was basically, he won for Senate Majority Leader, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's a deep state. He's not gonna enact Trump's agenda." But he came out and gave a full-throated, "Yes, we are going to enact Donald Trump's agenda. We will appoint his picks. We will push through blah 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 blah." So let's see if that happens.
Yeah,
I hope so. I do think Gates needs to be AG, because I think he does need to go after these people. Part of me is thinking, like, here's my conspiracy mind. The reason the DOJ stopped the investigation and declined to charge him wasn't just because none of the witnesses were credible, because they could have made them credible. All they had to do was pass them off to the media as being credible.
I guess, yeah.
Right? They would have just had to, like, sling the mud 24/7 for a couple weeks on end until either Gates buckled or it became a foregone conclusion that he was going to be charged or whatever, right? Anyway, I think what probably happened was Gates, working closely with Donald Trump, said to them, "You go forward with this. I'm burning the entire fucking place down. I have the names and I have the evidence of every single congressperson, every single senator who went to Epstein's Island, who's involved in a Diddy White Party and a Diddy White Party after party. I have the names and video evidence of all of these evil people doing all their evil shit. So come at me, because it will come out. I have a dead man switch on this shit. So even if you kill me, it's coming out." And that's probably why they said, "Okay, hands off." I'm hoping so. And I'm also hopeful that Trump has something in that way too. It probably won't happen immediately, but it'll come out. Like, if they do something to Trump, it's going to come out. Remember that the funeral for McCain?
Vaguely.
So there was this thing going around at the funeral for McCain, that a bunch of deep staters, the Bushes, Kerry, the Clintons, and I think the Obamas, they were all, milling about prior to or just after the ceremony completed. And they all received somebody got a note in one of their programs or something. And the implication was it was a note from Trump. And everybody who read the note looked really, really nervous. like he had put something in one of their programs saying, "You're going down." Or, and he gave some sort of tidbit of that lead them to believe that he was legit, that it was true. Now, this was the rumor that was going around, and this was all over 4chan and all over social media. Trump had the goods. Trump had the dirt. And you see this one picture of George W. Bush where, he sees it. Jeb Bush is like fucking panicked, and he's reaching across, and he's like, he's having a heated conversation with one of the other people there. I think it was one of the Clintons or whatever. And George W. Bush just looks over at Trump and looks back, and he's just got this grin on his face, like, because something tells me that George W. Bush was never involved in any of that shit. He knew what was going on, but but he never got into it.
Why would I have sex with a child? I like boobs.
I would have sex with a child. I like boobs. Yeah.
It's because they jiggle.
Yeah, I can see that. I totally see that. Anyway, that's my conspiracy theory. Trump and Gates, they have the goods. And that's why they sort of stopped the investigation. And that's probably why he's going to be confirmed too. Because then once he gets in there, he can go after the bad people and he can make deals with people to make sure it happens to the worst of them. And that some people who maybe were just sort of adjacent to it, weren't actually involved in it. Maybe they were involved, sort of like at arm's length in it, but didn't actually touch anybody. Maybe they'll be like, okay, you keep my name out of it, and I'll give you what I can on so and so. Like,
yeah,
shit.
I went to Epstein's Island, but I only had sex with the regular prostitutes.
Yeah, I didn't have it. Yeah, I had sex with above age girls. Yeah.
Don't tell anyone about my granny fetish.
Not America, LOL. Yeah, I think that could very well be the case. That he's got the dirt. Trump's got the dirt, and they're like, fuck. All right, give him his second term.
Well, that would be why then, when asked about releasing the Epstein files and the information, he was saying, oh, well, maybe not all at once because there's stuff in there that could, have negative effects on people's families and things. And he's like, no, because I'm using it like a fucking weapon.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, he's not going to say it like that.
Yeah, no.
We'll have to see, right? We'll have to see.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Right.
This is Q, right? This is the theory that Q has going for them. They're like, oh yeah, it's all coming out. Everybody's going down, blah, blah, blah. That's what Q thinks. Trump's gonna fucking tear it all down. He's gonna burn the shit down. They're all coming out. Pizzagate's real. They're all gonna fucking fry. Pizzagate is real, by the way, folks. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's fucking real.
Yeah, weren't the biggest...
John Podesta is a child predator, and the fact that he's even ever shows his face in public these days boggles my goddamn mind.
Weren't the biggest debunkers, quote unquote debunkers, of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory all found with fucking child porn?
Yeah, pretty much.
And convicted of child sexual offenses? Like,
the guy who owned the place had child porn. He was charged. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. This there was a
James Alefantis is a Rothschild, right?
Yes, and James Alefantis is a pseudonym. It's not his real name.
That's right.
There's a Canadian teacher who was convicted in Denmark, I want to say. He was an Arab, I believe. But he was convicted in Denmark of raping a kid. And now he's a fucking professor in Canada.
See, this is not a serious country.
No, it's not. It's fucking messed up, man.
Oh,
it's all kinds of messed up.
And that I'm reminded. I've got to find it now. Oh, where did I put it? Yeah. So, occasionally we have this conversation about the death penalty, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm against it. But there's always some fucking thing. Oh, man. And I struggle because, it's easy, right? It's easy. Here, you can share this for me, please, and maybe give it a read.
New 8-month-old boy is not expected to survive after his father threw him against a wall because he was losing an NBA 2K game. Jalen White, 20, is charged with felony child abuse and neglect. The defendant was down 2 points in the fourth quarter of the game and became frustrated while holding JW, ultimately throwing JW, against the wall. Medical reports indicate the child has multiple injuries, including 6 rib fractures and a healing clavicle fracture, suggesting a pattern of abuse. The defendant said, my son hit his head on the wall. He hit his head hard on the wall, bro. I swear. He hit his head hard on the wall, and I heard the wall, and it was a hard on his head. It was hard. It was a loud, hard wall, and I heard the impact of the wall after I tossed him. Medical experts believe the injuries show signs of repeated abuse. Is there more? You scroll down.
That's what I've got here, right? And a
Your
picture of him.
Yeah, big surprise.
So yeah, you know, death penalty.
The kid die?
I haven't heard an update of it. I didn't go looking further into it. I just read this. It was like, oh, death penalty. Yeah, suddenly I'm convinced, at least for the moment. And every time I read it and I look at his stupid fucking face, I've said
it before. I don't believe, in principle, I don't believe in the death penalty. That doesn't mean that some people aren't deserving of death. This guy's deserving. If this kid dies, this guy is definitely deserving of death. At the very least, he's deserving of a long time in jail, and his kid should never be anywhere near his kid ever again.
They're 8 months old, and there's already a pattern of abuse. What can an 8-month-old do that you would beat them into multiple injuries, 6 rib fractures, and a healing clavicle?
Well, here's why this guy. What's his name? What's the character? What's this dude's name? Jillian White.
Is it Jillian?
Here's what this kid did. This kid exists, and Jillian White does not want to be a father. He'd rather play NBA 2K. And Jillian White is frustrated by the fact that he can't do what he wants to do, and it's a complete hassle for him to deal with this little kid. And hell, he's not even sure if the kid's his own, because it might not be.
And this is the thing that really upsets me. The phrasing of the quote. These are the words out of his mouth.
Oh yeah, my son hit his head on the wall. He hit his head on the wall.
No. Your son didn't hit his head on the wall. You hit the wall with his head. Yeah. This is a very different thing. Right? Like,
he's trying to distance himself from the act. He's trying to distance. He eventually says, I heard the impact of the wall after I tossed him.
Yeah.
So what he probably meant to do was, and here's his excuse. I meant to throw him on the couch, but I was so angry because I was down 2 points in my NBA 2K game that I threw him harder than I meant to, and he hit the wall. I meant to toss him onto the couch because I had to concentrate on this game because I was down 2 points. But instead, I tossed him too hard, and he hit his head on the wall.
Now, here's the thing, right? I don't have an update. And according to this here, 8-month-old boy is not expected to survive. But if he does survive, reading this, having this in front of me, I'm like, still death penalty. Just shoot the guy.
Well, because the kid's not going to, if he survives, he's going to have serious brain injury. He's 8 months old. His head is still very fucking soft. I mean, it's not as soft as it was when he was first born. But, you know, it's still a developing, brain case. That's brutal, man. It's disgusting.
This makes me want to hit my head on a wall.
Well, don't do that.
No, I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking brutal, man. That's terrible. Again, I don't believe in the death penalty. That's not to say that some people aren't deserving of death. My reasons for not wanting the death penalty.
I have reasons as well, right? I mean, on a logical level, I'm against it. But then I see that and I'm like, yeah, no, just shoot the fucker.
Well, there was a time there used to be vigilante justice. And did you ever see the movie The Star Chamber?
No, I don't think so.
Michael Douglas. It's the 1970s, 1980s. So basically, the Star Chamber was a bunch of judges who basically, people would be let off on technicalities, right? So some despicable piece of shit would be let off on technicalities. Michael Douglas, I want to say, was a prosecutor, or he was another judge, but he was brought in by the Star Chamber, which was a group of judges who said, look, the law binds our hands, but that doesn't mean these people get to escape justice. So we've tapped you. You're the guy who's going to go out and kill them. So
Oh, so it's
basically,
like Batman.
yeah, he's like a vigilante. So basically, they say, and you know, there were a group of judges. So if he ever gets caught, you know, provided he keeps his mouth shut about the nature
They'll
of the
be
Star
lenient
Trooper,
with him.
they'll go lenient on him, kind of thing. So yeah, no, there was a time back in the day where vigilante justice did a lot more to dissuade people from behaving badly than the actual justice system did. Right now, I don't say we should need to go back to those days, but there's a reason that movies like Death Wish with Charles Bronson resonate with us, right? There's a reason that movies like The Star Chamber resonate, because there are some times when bad people get away with doing bad things and good people don't get rewarded for the good things they do. And we want here on Earth justice that, by all accounts, only comes in the afterlife. But we have a desire to see it happen. There's a guy on YouTube called Romanian TV. He used to be a guy who used to make videos with Sargon of Akkad all the time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
He's got two channels. One's called Romanian TV, and the other one's called Lack of Entertainment. One that he devotes for entertainment stuff, and one that he talks about more political stuff. And he was saying that in Romania, which is where he lives, they have a sense of justice that is very different from our sense of justice. We believe in like the rule of law and jurisprudence, and people being given a modicum of mercy as well as justice, like justice being blind, so to speak. Well, in Romania, the idea is that you've done something to me that has caused me harm, caused me loss. Therefore, I'm doing something to you that causes you harm and loss. And I don't care that it doesn't benefit me, but the fact of the matter is it's going to hurt you. So therefore, I'm going to do it. And for whatever reason, in Romanian culture, this is seen as completely acceptable. Now, I don't know if it's been written into their law system, but your neighbor does something to your car through carelessness or disregard for your property. So you doing something to their car is completely reasonable. You fucking ruined my car. You got paint on my car. Fine, I'm throwing paint on your car. And for whatever reason, this is just sort of accepted as how it happens. Now, does this lead to people behaving more carefully with their neighbors, with their people in their community? Does it lead to people being more socially responsible in their community? It might. It doesn't seem to be very just or reasonable. It does seem kind of juvenile in how
a little petty.
And petty. Yeah. But how effective is my question.
Sure. I mean, you've got to, because I mean, what am I getting at? Like we don't think like that, and we have some terrible stupidity, right? That I got one like on my incredible tweet.
What's that?
Let me see if I can share it here.
I gotta find you.
Here. It's shared.
4 years ago today, we froze the handgun market and stopped handguns from being bought, sold, or transferred anywhere in Canada. We choose your safety over the gun lobby every time. Gun crime has gone up, you twit. Yeah. Why has he only got one? Now, I don't know how long ago you put that in. So that's from October 21st. It's because you came at it on November 15th.
Oh, maybe. But I mean, like it passed, it just came through my feed. And I was like, well, like what? And this is what's mind-boggling. Like they want an outcome, and they take steps that provide the opposite of create the opposite outcome, and then they tout their steps as a success.
You're being far too generous for Justin Trudeau. His outcome is not to reduce gun crime. His outcome is to remove guns from the hands of law-abiding
citizens.
Well,
sure, but the claim, right? And people believe this, and then they see this tweet and go, "Yeah, he did the steps." that created the opposite outcome. And like the touting of a failure, a blatant failure as a success. I can't help but think of that episode of The Office where Dwight and Jim are in charge of the Christmas tree for some reason. And they have this big reveal, and the whole office is waiting and watching, and they pull back the fucking sheet and the tree is bare. And everyone's like, huh? What the fuck is this? It's like, yeah, so we all get to decorate it together. And everyone's like, I have better things to do. This is a workplace. I don't have time for that. Boo. And Dwight, being his authoritarian self, is going, enough. Everyone back to work. This has been a successful unveiling. And like, that's what this tweet is to me. It's just Dwight being Dwight.
Yeah, pretty much. But you know what's funny about that tweet? You take a look at it. We choose your safety over the gun lobby every time, right? So basically, yeah, he's touting the action without recognizing that, you know, the action
People
didn't
are
resolve
less
anything.
safe by
Not only that, he's weaponizing people's, he's basically hanging the gun lobby out as, you know, they're the real problem. Whereas, you know, it's not the fucking gun. First off, there's not much of a gun lobby in Canada at all. There's a couple of small organizations that primarily exist for people who do sport shooting and hunting. They're not like 2A advocates who want people to be able to defend themselves in their home with a firearm. I agree, but the gun lobby does not, right? The CCFR does not take that stance. Like, people need to be able to have guns because people use them for hunting, people use them for sporting, and people are good intentioned and law-abiding citizens, and they shouldn't be treated this way. That's their position. There is nobody in Canada. There's no lobby in Canada that says people deserve to have guns so they can defend themselves against a tyrannical government and against criminal element. But there should be.
We should start one.
We should start one.
Yeah, I think every adult should be allowed a sidearm on their hip, basically at all times.
You should. Well, and this is the other thing that's cool about the United States. Basically, open and concealed carry. When Trump gets back in office, it's going to be basically the Second Amendment. The Constitution is your carry permit. They're going to make it so the carry permits in one state are transferable across all states, regardless of what their current laws are with regards to carry permits. Because the Supreme Court has come down and said, look, the Second Amendment is your carry permit. It's quite explicit in saying the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed.
That's right. I would be happy with starting a maybe, you know what, maybe that's something that Canada Man could do. I'll talk to him about it. So, as well as Canadians First being a poster, saying, citing the charter, you can have a sign that cites the charter that Canadians have a right to safety and the security of person. Like, you could just have that charter, and then people stop and ask them, well, how do we secure our person? In public, in your home, how do you secure your person? Lock on the door? Okay, how do you secure your person when you're out on the street?
Well, I've been through this before, right? That like I think it was an oddity because it's so long and ridiculous that like you apparently have a right to life in Canada.
Yeah, right to life. Was it
liberty
life?
And security?
And the security.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. Meaning, you committed a crime, you can be arrested, you can have your liberty taken. Away, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that that's Section 7. In Section 7, you have a right to life. In Section 1, it describes the ability and power of the government and method by which the government can infringe on those rights.
Right.
Right
after notwithstanding clause, yeah.
After claiming that it guarantees those rights.
Right.
But the thing is, it doesn't guarantee the rights, and it doesn't guarantee the guarantee. It doesn't even pretend to guarantee the guarantee on your right to life.
No.
And there's a whole long-winded explanation for how I came to this conclusion. But yeah, like, you know, the three prongs of restricting your rights. Well, there's three prongs of not even pretending to guarantee the guarantee. That is your three prongs.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless, of course, you're allowed a gun on your hip. That's it. So, yeah, you don't have a right to life.
No, you don't.
The right that they believe is reasonable to limit, if prescribed by law and is demonstrably justifiable, is your right to life. Right? It's like, or Shrek, right? Lord Farquaad saying, yes, some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
That's right.
What are you looking for there?
I'm looking for.
You're looking for a joke.
Your final thoughts. We're not doing nobody tells jokes anymore.
Yeah, I always forget to have one, or I hear a good one and then I forget it in the moment. And I never makes it to my notes. Oh, no, wait, there is one in my notes. But it's not really a joke. It's just a line that I heard someone say. Yeah, I'd fuck Sarah Silverman, but only if she cried the whole time.
That's awful. That's so funny though.
Oh, as our new king, Six says all Canadian citizens will have right to bear arms, especially if you invite me to the range. Yeah, for sure. King Six has an open invitation to our range, which will open once he conquers Canada.
If I were king of Canada, I would institute a citizenship militia. Every Canadian of able body will be required to keep a firearm in their home and will be required to muster to the nation's defense should an emergency be called, should an emergency be announced.
I'd take it even more ridiculous. All adults are deputized by default.
So you should be, if you see crime someone committing a crime, you have the right to arrest them?
Actually, if you fail to intervene in some way, you're held accountable. Not nearly as if you committed the crime yourself, but yeah. You'd better be prepared. Let's go crazy with it.
True.
And like I always suggest this. Yes, if suddenly one day, like just tomorrow, everyone has to have a firearm on their hip at all times, you're going to see gun violence go up real bad for like 2 weeks. And then it'll drop to zero forever.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. An armed society is a polite society.
That's true too. Hold on. So 1 second. All right.
You're not asking AI to generate you final thoughts, are you?
No, I'm not. I was looking for something and I found it. I was gonna share it on the screen, but I'm not going to. All right. So, folks, we're just about to call it a night, but before we do, it's time for final thoughts. Perhaps, if I am very lucky, the feeble efforts of my lifetime will someday be noticed and maybe in some small way, they will be acknowledged as the greatest works of genius ever created by man. That's not very funny. Hold on.
It took a weird left turn. Yeah.
I know, right? When you're going up the stairs and you take a step, kick the other leg up high behind you to keep people from following too close.
Are these from the old SNL Deep Thoughts series?
Jack Andy, yeah, Deep Thoughts by Jack Andy.
Oh, one of my favorites. It doesn't make any sense. Oh no, okay. There's a couple of them. If you ever drop your keys into a river of molten lava,
yeah,
let them go. Because man, they're gone.
It's true. Here's one. If you were a poor Indian with no weapons and a bunch of conquistadors came up to you and asked you where the gold was, I don't think it would be a good idea to say, I swallowed it, so sue me.
If you ever fall from a great height, go real limp like a dummy. Somebody might catch you. It's like, hey,
free
dummies.
That's right. Here's another one. And I remember this one verbatim. If trees could scream, would we be so cavalier about cutting them down all the time? Well, we might, if they screamed all the time, for no good reason. And with that, folks, we're going to call it a night. I appreciate you all coming out here. Stick around for the outro video. I worked hard on it. Not really, but I'd like you to watch it. And join us next week on Mr. Irving Twin. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. What's next week? The 23rd?
Maybe. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 20. I'm going to Curacao on the 24th, so I may not be around.
Ooh.
We're leaving in the morning on the 24th. So this is a Sunday we're leaving. So the Saturday I might be around for a live stream. I'll let you know. But either way, it's Irving Twin's turn to host a live stream next week. But otherwise, I had a great time with you tonight, Mr. Twin. Thank you for being my co-host. Thank you all for commenting. And with that, I think we're going to call it a night. Let me just hold on, get rid of this banner, and we'll end the stream. Play outro and end stream. Good night, all.